All right. So
when you meet your friends next, it'll be at a gravesite.
So to go back a little bit, you can inform her. I think you had before. She had one friend which you had come across, which you believed to be him, and he was dead. One other friend had made it back, and they're still looking through what's left of the chantry in that region for the remaining person. So they have high hopes, but it is a pretty significant damage to the chantry. Yep. You could, even when you were there, you could feel that a lot of the interior space was kind of frayed, unraveled, kind of near the entries into China and Nepal. They've kind of cordoned things off, and anything beyond the chantry webways that kind of go up to the Middle East, anything past that had really been cut off, and only really personnel that are trained in spatial magics are going even past that. But as I said before, what is it? You were that night talked to by La Na, and then we're kind of into the next day. And you can just decide how long you want to spend your time from there. You're aware of things that are on the timetable, but there could be shit that happens, or you could have a relatively free and clear 5 months.
I'm going to go back to...
I'll break up.
Yeah.
Can we...
Before we all break
Everyone
up.
scatter to the winds.
Exactly. Can we maybe just have a moment where we talk about what our next steps are going to be? And do we want to maybe coordinate our activities during this apparent lull to prepare for the next campaign? I.e., do we want to take down Mormon?
Absolutely. Especially before we lose access
New York and the East Coast
to Ben's secondary character.
Well, I mean, we're still going to have access to Miss Eckhart, so we don't necessarily need his Browning to be around for it.
From your understanding, Mrs. Urquhart doesn't necessarily associate, or at least they're not the same faction. So,
right. And
if such a thing exists, really, with demons.
And then the other thing is that by doing that, there are certain artifacts she wants to recover to go against the whatever star.
The Nemesis Star.
Nemesis Star.
She had mentioned resources, but she never really detailed. Right. You only could imagine what might be stored in that. Was it that army or that faction?
Yep. So we kind of kill two birds with one stone by taking Mormon down. Unless we don't want to increase the power that Miss Eckhart has.
I am willing to take down Mormon.
Okay, so we're going to pass along the things to help out Miss Eckhart?
Sure.
Okay. So how do we want to go about preparing ourselves then for...
I'd like to study through the dictionary of law.
Should we just prepare like we normally prepare? Go now!
Well, usually we don't.
It is fun sometimes, but then I just feel bad other times.
Like, how did you guys survive that?
Well, sometimes sometimes you hit by a car and your 400-point character is dead.
I plan on doing studying with Lana.
Okay.
The book.
To the extent that you can. Okay.
There were two of the books, and what is it, Jeb said that he took one of them, and then where was the other one?
I grabbed it.
Yeah.
I turn it over to B.
Do you want to go to the Cat Sanctuary and study it there?
Well, I was thinking that if we want to try to take down Mormon, Miss Eckhart's got extensive libraries that
you want to give
would
us
be of use.
So what were the advantages
not giving it to her,
of chantry magic versus...
So that B can use it for the hypertech.
The cats, you've never seen... Well, Jeb is kind of a good example of that. You haven't seen Jeb do a whole lot of research. She seems to learn these things, but he's sleeping most of the day.
I was thinking if I go research...
Otherwise, a lot of his things don't seem to require him to draw anything out.
Body language
a lot of his spells that he's learned from the cats are with body language, gesturing, things of that nature.
I mean,
why would she have you
language versus chantry magic?
Oh, the
she
language.
Wants to keep an open door. Plus,
sell me on the language.
Her objective is that she wants
the runes themselves. You're talking about the new language.
Succeed against Mormon.
From what you understand, they're very powerful, and for individuals that garner a lot of paradox, they don't really.
The thorns.
However, they will initiate regardless of how.
So my thought is maybe we can
how badly you've done it off. So a miss teleport might not go anywhere, but a miss new teleport would still go somewhere.
Okay.
And then I was thinking if we had the professor and
they're old, they're powerful, and
less
theoretically
paradox, less control.
Althea Montrose.
It's not so much less control as since they're more difficult to
measures.
Correctly do. It requires more.
Go in there
but we put the skill
worded.
points in each word, not language.
I
in
don't know what
general.
he'll do. I'm figuring out this
Supposedly, there's a point
Do
at
whatever
which
he wants
your
to do.
power becomes such as that you can start to rattle off small sentences,
But I need
with
to let
not
some time
needing
go
to
by
know
anyways. I
every
need to
one
get
of
the
them.
Power back and let Paradox burn.
But then again, there's
Okay.
people in the Chantry that can skip drawing sigils. It just becomes at a certain point in time you're comfortable with it. Now, you can still garner paradox like that. You don't know how it works for the Mu sigils. You've never really had anyone that known more than one or two.
I look at you guys. I didn't learn Spanish when a Mexican joined the police force. I'm not learning the language when there's still good magic out there.
All right, good thinking. Good thinking. I can't argue with that logic at all. You should go run that to ground.
There's different varieties of magic, even more than that you guys have current access to. So it's all about the cons and pros of what you might want to look into.
Yeah. The thing that I think is awesome is I'm the racist of the party.
You're one of the racists in the party. Let's be honest here. It's the 1920s. It's
My racism is completely justified. All them Turks are devil worshippers, and I hate them. Every one of them.
It's alright, I still think Frock still needs to hold my bags.
That's just Frock. That's because he's Frock.
Hey, when he comes back, we can convince him. It's like, when you were alive the first time, you held our bags.
See? You're already starting to appreciate that he's back, Joe.
You remember that Kronk had a very high will, and he wasn't necessarily gullible.
No.
Did he?
So
You were in the
Yeah.
South.
Wait,
he was,
so does this
he
language
was the
have any will
exorcist of the group.
reducing?
That was one of the good things he did do.
He did do that. He saved Gertie from my evil spirit that was inhabiting it.
That was hilarious, too. Oh, man, I can't believe that was so long ago.
Yeah, I think that was his one good successful exorcism, and since then it's all been like
No, he had another one in
So
a,
I did have one
okay.
idea
Library.
for if we're fighting something that is physical, can be hurt by electricity. If we make like normal guns with bolt,
Those creatures were not material.
They
They
were-
were hurt by
they
electricity.
were half spirit. They were spirit things.
if we fight something that can be hurt by electricity, I had an idea. So we all have the little like British government pistols, right?
Yeah.
So if we you don't.
I'm just wondering, does your plan involve blinding everybody right at the start of the combat?
No, it
first?
doesn't.
No. Okay. All right.
So-
Like I
Continue
said
then,
before,
continue.
it is bright, but if you had made some sort of tinted goggles or something, you
This
might be
is
able
my
to...
lightning, not
Okay.
Yith lightning.
All right, I'm
So
listening.
if the bullets have sigils in them, then if you guys were to shoot those off and hit things, then I use my lightning to like make all of them evoke. Kind of,
Okay.
it'd kind of be like you've put the damage points on them, so I get to skip that step and just be like tons of damage.
If you try to invoke a
What
sigil
kind of
on a
sigils are you
person,
putting
you
on
might
bullets?
not...
Lightning bolts. So if it were a person, it'd be like bullet lodge. Like if we just get little 22s, bullet lodge.
If you put it on the underside of the bullet where it's less likely to deform, it could survive
Or
impact.
cast bullets with hard metal on the inside.
The only
Of the
problem I see
sigil?
with your plan is most things we fight, bullets aren't going to ever touch them. So the bullets are going to be laying on the ground, and then they're going to go bounce around.
It's going right back at me.
That's not true. There's-
But
If they're
But
Recently you
apparently
had
we're
some spirit
fighting.
things, but there's
we're
still
going
a
up
lot of
against
stuff
a
that you
demon
physically-
camp, though, right?
Yeah.
So if everyone shot a few bullets into them, that
You have
creates
to
a few
push
points.
faster DR.
why won't we just shoot lightning bolts out of our boxes?
Because this would make like a web effect,
Because
whereas
this helps
yours
him.
just straight.
Exactly.
I'm not seeing it.
You're not
I
seeing
still-
it through the
I
You're
don't
not
see
seeing it through the
I don't
filter.
see
How
why I
can
wanna
you
when I can make them out of
help
lightning
Barton?
bolt.
So
Exactly.
Here's what I'm.
How about we just hold him on the end of a stick and he can go all out, dedicate every combat, and he'll just pull him back. And then B, you jump in front of the first field so he doesn't take any damage.
The reason,
Or you can pull him back so he doesn't get shot either.
so the reason I thought that this was better than the lightning bolt gun was because then each turn that goes by, that more bullets get put in them. That's more lightning bolts that are going off.
So you can make extra lightning bolts out of sigils.
No, he's just going to activate it when
The magic requires you to invoke a sigil that exists.
Okay.
So rather than having to chuck one, if there's a sigil that exists in a person,
Right.
he could try to remotely activate it.
Can you try to remote or reactivate more than one?
I did it against.
It depends
the-
on his power.
So he could, but it gets difficult.
Yep. it gets
So
different.
if I shoot 16 with a submachine gun,
it's
chances
it's
are-
unlikely he would be able to benefit from that many rounds. That
I
hit.
see a nasty static electricity charge gets built up. We'll maybe see some hair go.
all right, I'm just
But
trying
no,
to stand
the
forward.
premise.
Well, you remember you two made 2 sigils, and I made 2 lightning bolts that were equivalent to the lightning bolt guns set on 1 before when we were facing those things. So if
In
we're
fairness-
facing demons, and all
in-
I need is like
In fairness, you think that there was a degradation of the power trying to get through the force fields. So you think it would be more powerful than the first setting of the gun.
So in other words, the more bullets that are out there, it means I have more choices for the weapon.
I'm just saying that based on how much he rolled by, he's pretty sure that his lightning would be more powerful than the first setting on the guns.
Gosh.
And it didn't make a lightning clap.
There's a small noise, but no, there's not an audible...
deafening.
Yeah. The deafening is not too bad. What's initially disorienting is just if it's really close to you guys, and you're
like
not
coming out of our chest.
Yeah.
As Jeb pointed out, either your bullets aren't going to hit them at all because they're deflect harm, or if they do hit them,
has demons, right?
I understand
Demon
that.
Soldiers.
Let me get the second point out, though. The second thing, as Jeb pointed out, is their DR. The bullets are just going to deform and fall and hit the ground. They're not even going to do any damage.
So my original idea, because he was the one who said on the back of the bullet, my idea was make the little sigils out of like hardstone and then like put them in the bullet shell.
Yeah. So when the bullets land on the ground, they've stepped over the line of bullets. Then what happens?
Well, you shoot them in them.
But what I'm saying is, you're not going to be able to penetrate them.
The demons?
Correct.
You guys
shot Zykes, and did your bullet penetrate? No, it was your life thing that killed. That hurt.
The G.U.R.P.S didn't penetrate Zykes, but there are other demons that you fought in the sewer systems.
Yep.
Where it seems like you penetrated, but it seems like they took bullets like champs.
Exactly.
Yeah. So having it in them means the lightning comes from within them, which is going to be penetrating lightning damage.
All right. I'll help you. Count me out.
Yep. We're getting to that team spirit already. I can feel
I make lightning out of this box, and it goes to 32. I use it on 3. It's pretty damn effective. I just don't see me shooting this gun with G.U.R.P.S rounds to help you.
Depending,
so I was thinking of like mass murder.
If you want to do it,
line.
get the minigun that the MI5 gave us. Do your little thing, and then take one round and minigun a guy, and then next round blast him.
It can't be G.U.R.P.S though, because G.U.R.P.S go through things.
No,
right?
The minigun from MI5. They have that little machine gun you can walk around with and shoot all kinds of bullets. Look at that thing. Where's that rate of fire on the thing? 20. It's got a rate of fire at 20.
Is it 20 exclamation
It's a
point?
hydro.
20. It shoots things though.
It shoots water.
It doesn't shoot water.
It doesn't shoot water.
That's what it uses as the combustion form or whatever. Yeah. And it's actually hydromagnetic.
What does it shoot?
It uses a hydrogen cell. Essentially, it runs on water.
What gets stuck in people?
Metal, was it ferrous metal chunks? Tiny ferrous metal chunks.
It sounds like bullets.
It's much like a gauze weapon. It fires lots of small particles. It's just that particular weapon has a means of taking seawater or hydrogen and combusting it and using it as a propellant.
Yep.
Or not a propellant, but to charge internal batteries.
The things that it shoots, are they like atom size, or are they like staples or something?
You're looking at probably things that are like half the size of a nickel.
So something you
probably,
could put a ruin.
probably around a 4mm round.
There you go. See? I understand. We aren't doing it for you, but it would be a means to your plan.
My idea was more, the lightning cannon takes out a line. This was like to take out like a mob.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have problems with that.
No.
With mobs?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not a mob. It's an army.
Yeah.
Didn't anybody learn Fireball yet?
No, but if we're going to try to take out mass swaths, he can disintegrate stuff in 40 yard diameter swaths.
Caveat to that, he has been a bit hit and miss. Sometimes he's A game, sometimes he's D game.
I don't point that out. That's not counterproductive to my argument.
I'm working on it, okay? I think I can get it up pretty close to B game.
What do you have for points? 516?
516, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and that's what I have listed.
Is that
so
with 3 more?
516.
Or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's what I have listed, so that's what I'm going to go with. I've been trying to keep my total accurate here. And I've been keeping track of the days. It's 21st of December. You guys are pretty close to Christmas.
Christmas special coming up soon.
Christmas special. You see Cthulhu. Right. He's wearing a Christmas.
Well, I think we should work on things to take down Mormo. I think we should have a 2-week window.
So what are we going to be fighting? Because I wasn't there for the Mormo thing.
Oh, really?
It'll
Moon
be demons.
Beast, which is awesome.
Some
you saw
cultist
Moon
demons.
There.
Moonbeast.
Some 6-legged
What are
cats.
Moonbeasts like?
Those are the ones where...
You came across them before.
Things you could work on?
They were somewhat like, they're close to about 12-foot semi-gelatinous creatures. They seem to have weird coral spikes.
We've got vision.
They were less designed for actually killing people and more like maiming and
Google Moonbeast.
hurting.
Okay.
I have a picture here if you want to see them.
Yes.
I will leave the vision department to the person who has copies of the plan to make his little retinal, right?
That's what I should do. Make retinals.
You still got that list of stuff that you can also figure out. And that's the Ghost Beast.
Those are nasty.
I'm seeing lots.
They didn't seem to have any kind of DR, but they did shrug off small. You could see bolt penetrate them, and they seem to be less susceptible to internal injuries.
Different than the ones that Chaosium came up with.
Yeah, there's some of the stuff in the Call of Cthulhu is pretty tame.
Yeah.
So
my ring got sacrificed
to power the.
It was an actuator.
You have a radio though.
Yeah, I thought you had like the super walkie-talkies. I never got one.
Yeah, you did. I gave you the stats for it, actually. You copied them down.
Could I try to find?
I thought that was that flying watch
through
thing.
Messenger?
I didn't want anything to do with it.
No. You copied.
Could I try
down
to find Urbas through Messenger?
potentially, maybe you're not sure.
Right there.
I mean, that's just a name that
Quantumly
you have of
entangled
somebody that
photograph.
existed a very long time ago.
Quantumly entangled.
I'll try to do it. Like my first 2 days of my week, I'll try to contact Urbas.
Okay.
I should have 5 quantumly entangled.
The rest of the time, I'm going to try
left. I have one.
to finish out the 7.
Riker has one.
So the rest of the 5 days,
I
I'm
got
going to either
3
try to find new prime spells or
one?
sentences.
Okay.
I was going to go do
Or
research on the other side of the world, so I thought
speech
that way
is
when I find something I can
You
radio
got
it.
one?
So I can start
You
learning
want
how
one?
to string
I have one.
their phrases together
got
more
one?
effectively. What?
What do you want? My quantumly entangled phonographs? No.
Yep,
So
there
then
was
I'll
6 in total.
Professor had one.
We've destroyed one.
You destroyed one. Walter, what is it? There would be one back at the lab.
Walter has one. I have one. Dusty has one. Trevor has one. And I'll give the professor one.
Okay.
So
Because
he
I'm
does
usually
not have one. Proc
I'm
doesn't
usually
have
side
one.
by side with one of you guys that has one.
Yeah, usually. Yeah. Sometimes you go off on your own.
It's rarely. Ever since I almost died.
There still are the telegraph rings.
That's true.
too.
You've been hovering close to our,
Actually, no.
our
I think
skirts as of late.
several of the telegraph rings, the ones at least that were at the facility, have been repurposed.
Oh, and I pissed
But
off
the
the
ones that
fairy.
were on your person have not been reclaimed.
How'd you piss the fairy
Yep.
off?
Because he was riding Scarlet, and so I was
And
walking.
those are on a
walking.
separate network, of course.
And so he was like riding Scarlet. He was like, "Come on, Seabiscuit! Come on, Seabiscuit!" And so I was just like, so I opened up a shallow walk, and I'm like, "Tag, you're it!" And I ran out real quick, and the fairy was like, "Rrrr!" So I got a pissed off fairy floating around the Umbra right now. But I played tag with it.
You want to do some downtime?
Yep.
What are the other PCs up to?
So, just a question before Peanut had all these things that were supposed to happen, right? But we were never informed.
as I described, you might have not been here, but there was various small things that occurred. He still has a fold in his person that is essentially about 2 pounds worth of weight. A few things happened to Dusty already, including he lost eyebrows for a weekend. And, so far, he hasn't got any gray hairs that he's aware of, unless he's specifically trying to look for it every morning.
Although I did shave my head to put my tattoo on, so
Yeah, so
hasn't
Who
fully
knows
grown
there?
back yet.
There's just going to be a hair that pops up.
a few of those things have come to pass so far. I don't think
Because if he didn't take
I
the
don't
light,
think I took any.
Yeah, use some off.
if he didn't take the lightning knowledge, his time has expired by now. Because he had a weekend, he had it for a week that he could have taken it for an hour.
You don't know. From your understanding, you don't know if you would have lost access to that around the same time he would have. But then again, you're not 24/7 throwing lightning bolts, so there could have been a 3-hour window in which you're eating a sandwich, and then you just didn't realize it.
Okay.
However, somebody could have been running around with using your ability
Or it could be
to throw
with
lightning.
that one little adventure and you're using a lightning bolt and poof.
No, that's why it was. He can only do it for a week, and that was downtime week.
Presumably.
So you put down that you got the new book?
Yes, I have a moo book.
I think before I said it was what you had was, one of them was a standard geography book. Another one was probably an Arabic to Latin dictionary. However, none of the original contents remain within the book.
I have Arabic and Latin.
Well, no, what I'm saying is the book
That's what the spine
that supposedly had been. That's what the spine of the book says.
Okay.
However, the interior obviously is not that. It doesn't seem to have an end or a beginning. You just kind of open it up and
It's just
thumb
ever
through it.
Gotcha.
If you try to take a scientific look at it, it seems as though the pages near the ends get a little bit thicker, and they never fully kind of come off the back page. So every time you turn it, there's always just a little bit more room. The book always remains the same thickness, so you assume that pages disappear in the front. But then again, this doesn't detect as any kind of magic that you're aware of, at least with a very quick scan. So.
Right.
Was Riker's trans gate or whatever? Are they letting people go through it?
Not yet. The first week everything went up and running, there was a lot of there was a lot of concern initially. There's still a lot of security around the gate. You might have not checked specifically, but from what B remembers, they were sending initially foodstuffs, water, other things of that nature. It was a resounding success so far.
How did they send it if they didn't send people?
Because they loaded it up onto somewhat of a tram and literally kind of fed it through.
Gotcha.
So there's teams that are sitting right on the precipice of the event on both sides, and they're handing off these objects, so nobody's physically going through. However, next week they're going to start with small animals like sheep, pigs, things of that nature, and after probably a week or two after that, they're talking about pulling refugees out of London, mostly civilians, people that are not fighting in the war, injured, and bring them here. They have a lot of supplies and base camps, even though this is a desert. You imagine it's because they want to keep anyone this whole event horizon kind of secured, and also if there's any kind of ill effects of the portal system. From what you understand, B, this actually runs different from the ones that you guys use. It runs on a phased shift. Ultimately, what I'm saying is it requires less power to run, because yours runs on damn near pure dark fluid. So yours is highly effective, but it's not efficient for something this size that's used this frequently. You'd need a city-sized array just powering it for a few hours a day. Right. So this one uses a different setup, so he hasn't tested this as thoroughly as your particular setup, but it's based on the same type of technology.
Right.
So it's cloak. It's Diet Pepsi, and rather to your Pepsi. They're still waiting to see what happens specifically. And obviously, the Bauer, the Bureau of Water, and Reclamation, and MI5 are very optimistic, but obviously very cautious of this entire system. I mean, there's never been a transatlantic teleportation gate system before.
Right. That could be worth some bucks in the end.
If it ultimately works out, it probably is immeasurable in value.
Right.
You would imagine if it wasn't for the fact that Walter Riker already has a lot of leeway, he probably would have little, he would probably have access to infinite resources, provided these two governments survive.
Okay. So one thing maybe if you guys want to think about too is if you get time, I know you're studying the me language, but being able to find ways of detection for seeing invisible things, moon beasts or moon cats.
I'm going to try to make the retinal things.
Okay.
You are aware that the cats are fairly sensitive to that sort of thing, and they do teach certain abilities like that. There's even a few chantry spells like detect invisibility and things of that nature that's on the list.
Can you say you on the updated of the spell?
On the adoption
the link I sent you is always to the updated file.
So one more big cat.
The link I sent you is not just a separate file; it is access to my master file. Okay. So you have the ability every time I update it, you can download a new version. Otherwise, I can email it to you if you can't download it from the network here.
This is evidently in Japanese.
So Jason Eichhold is still running your research facility. You're aware that you're probably up to now close to about 30 facilities of the vital essence that are up and running, which Dr. Bruce is maintaining, and you're planning on continuing to escalate that. But more time is happening. You've gotten probably about a week and a half back an update about how things were going.
Can we spend experience points?
You can, provided you spend a couple days downtime, you can start doing stuff. Okay. Obviously, you can't immediately do something and learn very hard or extremely difficult spells.
How about like on hit points, hard to kill, hard to subdue?
I'm fine with that, yeah.
Okay.
Most of you, I'd say everyone at the table here has been pretty good, so.
The scar tissue.
Strength, HT, I'm fine with you guys increasing those. You've been doing a lot and you usually carry a fair amount of equipment with you. less so recently because you've been carrying it in extra dimensional pouches, but you're aware that those are potentially damaging through a teleportation system because they both exist on the same space.
Could I wait till after the first week to spend on anything that I've learned? Like if it's any spells or anything like that?
You could wait, yeah.
Okay.
So otherwise, I'd say it's the next day. The Chantry is in the midst of recovery. However, it does seem like the acceleration of the insanity storm in China and Nepal has slowed down somewhat. So it seems like something that had been done took a little bit of steam out of their sail, or was it a little bit of wind out of their sails? But things are still pretty bad. However, things are bad in places.
It's sad for them.
So we're physically in where?
In the first night you were in the Chantry, you all stayed in the bunk room, and that's before you guys...
And where is that one physically? Is it in Egypt? Or?
It's in kind of a subspace,
okay.
But if you were to place it on their grid, it would be roughly somewhere near, I would say, Middle East, a little bit past that.
Okay.
So the southwestern section of Asia.
Do they still have chantries open into the east coast of the U.S.?
They do.
Okay.
East and west coast, even in Canada, South America as well. It's really only access limited to China, Nepal, India, a little bit into Russia, but all the rest of them in Australia are still up and running.
Okay.
And theoretically, somebody could map new ways to those locations. It's just they're considered very dangerous. So,
I'm going to take the retinal thing that he has, the eyepiece,
the
monocle, and I'm going to assist my technicians in figuring out how to make them.
Okay.
Didn't Maclot give you the, like, he promised you how to make it when you gave it to him to scan?
He didn't say that he was going to give him the technology to reproduce it. He said that actually was a technology.
He said he wouldn't give him the technology, but
he would give you
the
the monocle back. It's just the technology is something that he wasn't quite familiar with. However, he had mentioned that it belonged to a division of Dusk that supposedly went dark probably about 30, 40 years ago.
Rogue.
However, there's been some advancement on the technology since the time that on their timetables, if they were at this level of technology, it looks like it's more advanced than it should be. However, they've had no contact with them, and obviously there's slight differences in technological development. So they're very interested about where you got that, and you got that from I believe it was
Platypus.
It was
He
a
got it
platypus.
from
I think
Radio.
it was in radio.
I thought you stole
Radio's
it
the
from
first one.
I thought you
Radio
stole
was
it
in the
from
first
Eckhart.
one.
Or not Eckhart,
Then it
but
was Peanut.
your husband.
It was either
right?
Peanut or
So,
Teacup.
But
It was Peanut then.
but
That's his
Maclot
bro. We got
promised
it
him
from
something in
Platypus.
return, other than just I'll
What?
give it
You
back.
got it from a platypus?
Yeah.
It was the very first
I'm pretty
one.
sure he promised him the plans to be able to make it.
No, because they don't know
Yeah.
exactly how.
That's why
That's
he wanted
made.
it, to make the scans, and then he said
He wanted to see it because
This is something
they're
that he had that
interested in
was similar.
where you got it from.
Okay. What's the
but
what's the visual spectrum that it sees? It sees spirit.
It's got 9 of
objects?
them. The last one you can't use. And the other 8, you have them written down, don't you?
Yeah.
what I'm saying though,
Okay,
Ian,
so it
is
sees
he
everything.
didn't give it to him. for
I understand,
free.
but what you're saying is not something
So
that
you're
they
gonna
would
try to
be
build
able to
goggles
do.
for everybody, so.
He wouldn't have
Right.
given him technology because they don't know.
Whatever.
Did he promise him
Alright,
an
so I was thinking like going
equivalent?
to Beru's to
Like the
get
plans to
my
make
eyes
an
tagged.
equivalent?
I don't believe so.
Still
No.
wrong.
Because
It's up
I
to
knew.
you.
I can
remember
check.
it was
I can check the
spirit
previous
life.
recording.
I remember the impression that we were getting eyepieces off of the deal,
No,
not getting them physically, but getting the plans so we could make them, or he could make them.
not from what I understand. No, they took a look at it and then they were interested in it, and they were willing to negotiate, but that specifically didn't happen.
So what did he
plans
get in
for-
return then?
Nothing happened.
I don't
They
know.
just-
I don't know.
they
That's
just
my guess,
made
Rich. Yeah.
them aware of what it, they asked him what it is, and then they identified it for Beatrice, and they gave it back. So there's no trade or anything. They just merely identified it and told them that they would be interested in finding out more information about where this came from. and then nothing else happened beyond that.
So I could trade that information about where it came from, perhaps, for the diagrams. Or I've already given them the information.
I don't think
I'm
you
not
told
sure.
them because
I don't think
you
you
didn't think it was valuable enough. But
Well,
they don't
I'll
know
offer
that.
them the information then. For the diagrams on how to make them.
They could give you something similar, and that might be what you traded for initially.
Yes,
I'm
that's
not
what
sure.
we got. It's something similar. It's not what it is.
It's not what that is.
That's fine then.
Depending on what type of, depending on how much resource you want to put into it, it is a type of phased premium crystal that has nanocircuitry, and the limiting factor would be your ability to produce the materials required to make them. If you were to say put it into a resource, how much like it would cost to make one of them, you're probably looking around, what is that? 30.
What was the feat called that you could keep things running in the background?
Each one of the devices similar to that, not the indestructible version,
Compensation.
would be close to about,
It's
I
1
want to
point?
say, 80 to 90,000.
And I thought he said that it got progressively harder. So if the first one's 2, the second one would be 3.
Yep.
You know, for every one you have, it gets harder and harder and harder.
To buy it off, I mean, to get 5 things running in the background,
Okay.
it's like, what, 10,
Each one.
15?
Well, it'd be 2 for the first, then 3, which would be 5,
I
and then
only
4,
need
which
one.
is 9, and then 5
Okay.
is 14,
14,
and then
alright.
6 would be 20.
And that's something
I
equivalent.
believe. I mean, you can
If
check
you
it.
don't need
That's right, I
something
think
that
you're right.
is your equivalent of a, it's
Cool,
a
but I
little
don't
bit
have to
like
worry
a
about
Star
that.
Trek
I
Ultra
would think
Scanner.
2 or 3 would be enough, but
You could easily
I
make
don't know
something
what you
that
got
has
on
one or
that.
two of those modes
I
for
usually don't have
drastically
anything.
cheaper.
Well,
Right.
there's
If
a couple
you're
that
trying to-
lately
Like
I've
a
been having a couple
cost?
things running at once.
Potentially, yeah.
So, but to do other things, I'd have to
I would probably say for something similar,
drop
it'd
it.
be about 2,000, maybe 3,000. However, that's provided you can make the materials, and of course, there's going to
But
be
you
cost
could,
for
if you did it
research.
for like your
But yeah, 2,000 to 3,000 would be something
for your
with one or
your
two
Dex
modes.
one that you do all the
The
time.
problem that you're
So you
having
don't
is
have to keep
each one of
re-upping
these
it,
is
it's just
taking up
always going.
each one of these
I
modes
just
is taking
re-upped it,
up
just make
the
it
same
easier
amount of
for me.
space as a
Well,
device.
right, but I'm saying if you
So
set the
it's
compensation, you could
a
have it going all the
scaled-
time.
Yeah.
Right. Scaled complexity.
Yep. Like
All
it's
right.
a phone, it's a modem, it's a
So if he like
Hijacking-
had a chink 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 type thing, would it be even faster to do?
I
Like
don't
instead
know
of
if I want that
one
running.
that's
thing,
kind of
Or your
what the
mental
monocle
ward.
already
Yeah,
does,
yeah, all the time.
other than the
Yeah.
last mode.
Right.
Is it just for spells or is it for skills?
No,
It's
for
just
spells.
you're taking probably you're
So
taking
it'd be
9
your
different
defensive type
devices,
spells
and
or, you know,
if you make 9 different
enhancement
monocles,
spells.
that would be
yeah.
drastically cheaper than making one that did all of
Gotcha.
these.
Yeah, I mean, you could
How
do
much
it
without
for,
that last mode
deflect
that hooks
harm.
into
I know you've played with that.
other-
Deflect harm, deflect
That's
prime.
the similar. They didn't
Yeah,
give you one
you
that
could
gave you
run
the
those
last
all
one.
the
Okay. 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 So
That would be the 80,000.
Well, hopefully in some of the stuff that in my research I can find what I'm looking for.
Mechlot would even say, he had mentioned before that they were using technological advancements where they were completely resource exhaustive, meaning the amount of resources that they put into this monocle is absurd. It wouldn't be cost effective for something that they would be doing, even relatively to them. You don't know how their society works,
Yeah.
or you've never even physically met one of them before. So how he described it is the amount of resources required to replicate that rogue division monocle would be used in better ways.
right.
However, if you had a vast amount of resources and that wasn't your limiting factor, then he could understand how you might have that sort of technology develop.
All right. I need to know the modes because I've got to dummy down the device.
All right, I'll give you the modes.
So
You want them now?
if you got them on the card, yes. If not, I don't care.
The modes are.
And I'll check my recording. I might have made a different deal with you, but I don't remember
That's
them
okay.
giving you the
I'm happy with
That's-
this.
one. You've always seen it, and you got to get a feeling for it. You've always
is
seen
matter?
a bit of hesitation
What's
when
that?
you're
Matter.
asking for things close
I'm
to
gonna put
what
them
they
just
might
1, 2, 3
have.
order. Matter. EM sensor.
It's like, oh, you want a, what is it, a World War II 50 cal? Yeah, sure. Here's the designs
Biosigns.
for it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Temporal spatial. Same.
We get whatever they had for their last war.
Same as
Not the current,
mine.
not the
No,
current
temporal
one.
Yeah.
spatial is combined.
Okay.
Then it's dimensional. Causality.
So. Yep.
So when B goes back to her base, can I go along with her?
You can.
I asked.
The Chantrian,
is that where Dr. Bruce is at, or where is he?
The Chantrian, Massachusetts is
dark fluid.
Still open. You either can drive a vehicle from there or attempt to teleport to.
9 is multi-stage. 0 is default.
Take the 4-hour drive.
I'm wearing my bathrobe and I got my Kleenex boxes on my feet and shuffling around.
Don't touch stuff, everybody.
I'm not like Thomas. I'm not over there like, hey, what does B got in this drawer over here? Oops, radiated.
Yep. He dropped off the mad bit after that, so there's...
And what's when you burn a quintessence too, right?
2 to your spell rolls, yeah, generally speaking. Sometimes burning quintessence into the spell causes its effects to change, but...
Yeah.
So I'll see if I can get a hold of Bruce when I get over there.
For the most part, he's taking care of a lot of the vital essence developments.
Yeah.
It's clear that he's actually very capable regarding alchemy, and from my understanding, a lot of times when you guys are getting your limbs fully repaired, he's involved in some way. It seems as though he's a modern... What is it? When
I can draw a spirit.
I think Frock originally had his jaw rebuilt.
Yep.
It seems as though he was somewhat of a specialist regarding repairing pattern damage. But then again, I mean, he does have a bit of a sketchy background, so you're not sure how much of this is Mangala research, but he seems to be fairly good at it.
Which is supposed to make me magically invisible.
So I'll get some time with him. I asked Dr. Bruce, he had mentioned that you could put a sigil on a person to be able to.
So if you want to cycle that through, see how Shroud works underneath
magical.
He's created a crawling sigil, which he calls Fade.
Okay.
Generally speaking, it can mask your mystical and life force. Primarily, is what it does. At least for him, he says that you may have seen. He's seen. What is it? You might have thrown primal flares before. I think the other time that you might have noticed it was when you were fighting with him. Dealing with the star spawn, and he didn't seem to show up, but magical effects beyond a meter seemed to show up on his person.
Right.
So he always looks like some sort of very
like
dim light off in the distance.
Yeah.
When you get really close, it becomes noticeable because you're looking right at him, and a primal flare should detail him very well. But from like a block away, there's no way you would be able to tell him from like somebody else.
Right. So he was willing to do it in the past. I think for 16 quintessence is what he had told us.
I don't think 16 quintessence.
It was 8.
I think it was cheaper than that.
It was 16 for 2.
That was it for 2? Okay.
Yeah,
but he had 2 versions he could do. He could do the one where just if you're not using any spells, it does the fade, but also like his, which is I'm full on doing everything, and it still has the fade effect, right?
Yep. He always has an active fade effect. You assume it's because of some enchanted tattoo. You don't see tattoos on his person. But
right. So that's my question to him, is that if he's willing to, do that to me, if I pay him for it, which I'm willing to pay him for, and then can I get the version where I can be doing all my mystical energies and stuff, what would it cost to have that version? Because
you're just rolling in the quintessence.
I think the one that he gave you initially was the value for the little bit more powerful one. He can set up a time with you that doesn't conflict with him working on continuing to roll out the alchemy system here. He would say...
And so what would the cost for that be?
So the point of what he has...
Or at least I want to know the cost. I know he had offered 8, say, for the
8,
base.
I think, was kind of a base. If you want the ability to fully utilize your magic without it showing up. Of course, once it leaves your person, it's detectable.
Understood, right? It's just...
You think you're that powerful, huh?
No. It's just that I don't want to be picked out of the crowd when the monsters are deciding who they're going to eat because they can see life energies.
That has happened sometimes.
And I'm figuring when we're going to go fight demons, they're going to be like, oh, there's a target.
You're aware...
ignore that one. There's a target. There's a target.
If you had the ability to, wouldn't you do the same? You're like, there's a bunch of cultists. And you're like, that cultist, and that cultist.
That's the guy right there.
You're also aware of creatures like the primordial creatures that
feed on
life force. So it's like, well, this one's hotter than this one, so I'm going to zone in on this one in particular.
I think the invisible vampires do it that way. Mm-hmm.
So 3.
Go get me a cloak. Gotta pay for it. What are you eating?
Bubble gum ball.
Okay. This is a good choice.
What was it?
Bubble gum ball.
That's a good choice.
They're pretty hard.
They're not fresh and soft.
Very grape. I like that.
He would probably say
She mixed it with that grape. It'd be like alter grape. Grape ape.
It might be a flavor explosion in my mouth.
In your pants.
You probably say 15 quintessence.
Okay.
He would tell you to take up the size of a dinner plate somewhere on your person, closer to your core anatomy, either your heart or your back.
Okay.
Would be the ideal locations. And he will tell you that it does, not only does it mask, but somebody else trying to track you, it will have it more difficult, i.e. if somebody's trying to find you to teleport you, if somebody's trying to track you down in a positive way.
Okay.
In certain long-range mystical effects. Like if
So it'd be
somebody's
similar to the ring I wear all the time.
Yeah.
But that one only does for tracking purposes, not for...
Yep.
Right.
This is just a broad blanket.
It has everything as well. Okay. I'm cool with that. So when could he schedule me, and how much time does he need for the procedure?
He's fairly adept at it. He uses crawling tattoos, so after anesthesia, probably about 20-30 minutes.
High pain threshold. He doesn't need anesthesia.
Well, that's for him, like, to say whether or not.
I guess I'm not there. Sorry.
Yep. He would normally, he does it in a phosphorus dye that's normally invisible to normal light.
Okay.
You'll need a black light to actually be able to repair the rune in the future.
Okay.
Otherwise, he could set that up probably sometime later in the evening.
Okay. Can I do it on my core?
He can.
All right. On the back, though. I didn't get shot in the front.
Only daggers fit in the back.
Yep.
Yep. And of course, that's an issue. Well, it is pretty difficult to damage one of these things, but like a saber cut straight across the skin will, of course, shut it down.
Right.
But a lot of the magical energy will still be present. It just will need to be repaired by somebody capable of doing so.
Right. Okay. Very good. And so the other thing I volunteer is I do have a high level of paradox currently. Is that causing any concern for the procedure or anything like that?
He would, if something were to go awry, his priority, of course, would be protecting himself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's whether or not you would want to continue. He's very confident that he wouldn't cause any undue paradox in your system.
Okay. So does he see it as a hazard? Does he advise against it, or?
The level of fade would create a mild amount, he would say a very small quantity of paradox in itself that would be permanent within your system,
Okay.
because you now have capabilities beyond what
A regular
normal
person
individual
has.
So
So
he
you're telling
would
me to
probably
wait.
say that he would need to concoct some sort of alchemical component to be able to detect how much paradox might be in your system, and given that, he'll decide.
Okay. All right. Is that something he can do now, or do I need to come back in an hour or a week?
After
or?
5 p.m. this
Okay.
night, he can do that.
Okay.
It'll take him probably about 30 minutes. He would prefer not to do that right now.
Nope.
Given your system, he'll tell you that a fair amount is built into your system. So any kind of shifting to the paradox, it's good that you told him prior to starting this.
Yeah.
But as soon as that can bleed off, provided you are safe when that happens, once it dies around 4 to 3, he's willing to start the procedure.
Okay. So B, this is your quintessence operation, right? Where's the clean quintessence? I just need to put my staff there in the quintessence bucket.
I tell you, I'm still cascading the quintessence to start the other cycles. I can't.
From what you've been informed before, you're going to stop cascading probably around next week for the first 40, and then you're going to continue to run for there for a while, and then work out any bugs before scaling up to the 75.
Okay.
Just looking at you like...
So I got to... Next week, I'll start to have quintessence where you can bathe your staff in it.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that. I'll be back at 5. Thank you, Dr. Bruce, for your time.
You've seen a lot of odd things in Razie's been working on these small subunits.
Okay.
You've seen things like small stone or clay creatures kind of move around, pick up vials, but you've also seen them trip or like not be able to reach a door. So it's obviously not they're not
the best.
Insidious. They're waiting for you to sleep in the midst of the night.
So
However, it is odd to see. All right. Depending on what the PCs want to do from here, then we can.
I need to know on the real monocle
Yep.
which settings will detect magical invisibility.
If it's magical, the dark fluid it would. What is it? If there's something there, it would be displaced in dark fluid as well. So the dark fluid sensors would kind of outline it, but depending on if it's a biological creature, if it's made of normal matter, if it radiates heat or cold, those also would pick up on different sensors.
Okay.
So there's potentially multiple things that could be.
Probably not psychoactive, or maybe.
It might be. From what you understand, actually you don't have too much technological advancement regarding that particular field.
Well, let's just double check that. I think you're right.
The sensor seems to outline individuals, usually their heads.
Gotcha. The brain power.
So potentially that might give somebody away.
How about temporal spatial? Is that every time?
Usually not much. What is it? You don't pick up much on those settings, so you're not sure.
How about dimensional?
If it's a spirit creature that's invisible, yeah, it would be those. From what you can tell, it picks up cross-bridge particles on that setting.
Causality? What the heck is that?
You're not sure. Occasionally you get kind of blips here and there. Nothing finite.
I mean, I have physics. What's causality mean?
You can give me a physics roll that's perception-based.
$14 is long. That's 17.
It could be like the green run right there.
I'm gonna flubber. I can't use those things. Even up or by 6.
You're not sure at least how it would have accomplished this. The level of technology is a bit beyond you at the moment, but it may be detecting changes in entropy in certain systems. However, that would imply that it might know what's going to occur a fraction of a second beforehand.
Okay.
From your understanding, you wouldn't be able to do that. It flickers on and off, coffee mugs, people moving around, things of that nature, and then it disappears.
Okay.
I would say the only thing that you would notice is Hunter shows up, and a lot of things he touches detect for a while and then fade off.
Paradox. Okay.
Have high level of entropy.
2 modes for $3 grand, 2 to 3 grand.
Yep. I mean, you could theoretically make a device that has all of these features in it. It just would not be some sort of compact monocle, at least not this early in your development. I mean, if you had a box or something, like maybe even a car-sized objects, like the relay, you might be able to replicate something cheaper that could do a lot of these same things. It's just you're like, oh, it all fits in my watch now.
Right. So I could have different lenses.
Yeah. And I would say you would be probably more comfortable in the fields that you're familiar with, as in dark fluid and normal physics, as in like EM meters, things of that nature. You're not quite sure, even with a basis and a blueprint for psychoactive sensors and causality sensors, you just don't really have the fundamental sciences behind them.
Okay.
So you have some idea of how to make these things, but a lot of it's going to be you re-engineering it with the resources that you have.
Okay.
Search of Lovecraft was a horrible movie.
Yeah, there were some bombshells in the Lovecraft movies.
Yeah.
I really did like not House on Haunted Hill, but Cabin in the Woods. That was a really good Lovecraft movie.
Wasn't it?
Have you seen that? I highly recommend Cabin in the Woods.
It's hilarious.
Yeah,
I like
it's
it.
a.
Is that the one with Sigourney Weaver?
No.
Yeah, she was in it.
Oh, yeah, she was, yeah.
It's kind of a slasher / comedy / Cthulhu. Like straight up, it's Lovecraftian. And you would not guess it from initially, but it gets pretty funny.
Okay.
You don't know until pretty much the end.
Yeah, right at the end, it's pretty good.
Then it
But I
goes
highly,
up to the punchline.
Yep,
Yeah, pretty much.
I highly recommend it. So,
I'm gonna make. Jeez, dimensional for sure is going to be one of the settings.
I know, it's difficult. Ideally, if you had infinite amount of resources, you'd want something that could detect everything, and you just have to cipher it out. Now, the last setting, it's not necessarily that, from what you understand, it's not irreadable. It's just the amount of mental fortitude somebody would have to see that you'd be bombarded by just so much things you wouldn't be able to pick it out. You would have to have some sort of autistic individual that would be able to read this information coming at you.
I
should say gifted. A gifted individual.
Bought some dice. You bought the super dice.
What do you guys think for the other setting?
Why did you buy
What
super
would be your
dice?
favorites?
Why not?
I wanted another
so
set
why
of
should
the
I?
100
I think I'm going to keep yours and give you a bad
and
one.
super dice.
Okay.
You don't think so? You don't think that'll work?
And
Not when I was like, oh, I got 9
buy
settings. Why
just
I
the
only
big
have
ones
1
was
now?
The same price as buying the
We have
full
2
set.
settings.
But the just plain big ones with fun colors.
Not only that, but when he trips and he's like, this one broke. I thought this is indestructible.
Can I see your big
Yep.
percentile
All right.
dice? Can I touch them?
You can touch.
So let's see the field. 1895 is pretty good.
I got my 1895. I'm not sure how this. Not too bad. It doesn't count as a Cthulhu dice because you got one of those.
This is a Cthulhu dice.
No, it doesn't. It's not got the runes on it.
I'm going to make them each dimensional and a biosigns monocle.
Okay.
Yeah, that's dimensional spirit.
Oh, okay.
So
Could it see a sky vampire?
I believe
Star
so.
Vampire?
You assume so. You assume it's a living entity. You've never confirmed that. You don't know if it has normal biosigns.
We saw that it had a digestive system.
We saw it with bees.
From what
which
you've heard
apparently is
before and with your
subpar.
mythos, you are pretty sure it is a alternate dimension entity, so it should be bathed in cross-bridge particles.
My original goggles, what did they detect? I can't even remember.
Your goggles of revealing?
Yeah.
They detected primal energy and resonances therein.
That's nothing on this list, right?
Not that it's on this list. No. They translated certain types of primal energy into flavors, which would be very helpful for somebody that is developing thaume tech or enchanting.
Can I develop my own setting to have that?
You know how to do that with magic? You would have to develop a new way to do that with technology.
What'd you get?
Because the goggles of revealing use a
Serious.
very sound basis in
You're letting me touch it
technology.
without gloves.
Not technology, but magic.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think I have engineering sensors.
Flying
Wouldn't that
haste
be what I
white.
want?
I even like the picture.
Yes, but
I said I even
what
like
I'm
the
saying is,
picture.
how do you technologically
$60.
look at things'
Where did you see it being
resonances?
sold for 60?
Which is a mystical term.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's
And it's
impossible. I'm saying
insane.
is you
should go.
you'd initially don't have any
10 boosters
reference
for it.
point
Right.
for what magic
They
looks
only
like
give
with
you
normal
a
technology.
quarter value.
Gotcha.
How do you define
Oh,
normal
really?
magic with
In
technology?
store credit or cash?
Store credit.
Gotcha.
Serious? That's a ripoff. He got a $60 card.
Okay.
I didn't get to see it. Can I touch it?
Yeah, he let me touch it without wearing any gloves or anything like
I
that.
don't know. I haven't washed my hands for weeks, though.
That's okay.
Wait, go to the bathroom real
Dig
fast.
around in your crotch for a little bit too, and then touch it.
Was it a message?
Go ahead.
Drag it.
It's a cool card. Not $60 cool, but
Well, you can trade it into one of those websites if they're looking for it, and then get $30 worth of
it's
cards.
pretty cool. Did you want to see it? It's got a nice picture.
So, any one of the sensors, you'll have to first develop a prototype prior to actually fielding them. You don't know if there's going to be any issues. A lot of it is you
That's
don't
right.
have the exact tools and.
Of course, I get Riker involved because when he touches things, it goes golden. So I, of course, take his help. Whatever
he's currently-
advantage he has.
He's currently working on the what is it, the transatlantic gate
That's
system.
true. I have
There
to
will
think
be a
about it.
lull within the next week, and you know that he usually sets you as priority. But given this project, as he's the golden child, so to speak,
Yep.
for this particular project, it's very likely that you
Yeah,
can't
must.
get him to
I'm not sure what I think.
Yep.
get a huge amount of time to work on some project like that.
That's okay.
If anything, he's always there for you to call, and he could make pointers and things of that nature. However, when the gate thing settles down, he's most likely going to be very available for things again.
All right. So I went with I think it was Biosigns and Dimensions.
Okay. You'd most likely want to start on each one and then incorporate them into one single unit.
Yep, that's what
So it's going to take a couple days, you think, initially, depending on how your research comes out.
All right.
All right. So, anyone else doing anything? I know some people are talking about some stuff in
I'd
the
like
future,
to make
but
slap patches. If I have ideas to improve them based on my character's knowledge, I'd like to do so.
well, you know that the potency is relative to the amount of vital essence that you use in it. So, you know, an easy way is just to increase the potency.
But, I mean, from the bunch that I've used, is there like, oh, if I do this, it'll help heal
Efficiency's
magically damaged flesh better?
Can you heal me up before we leave? Or?
Pattern damage is a bit tricky. You'd have to do some research.
Well,
Well,
not necessarily
17.
pattern damage, but just like, oh, he got his arm blown off magically, or he got his arm in portion. This will...
From what you've seen, the
Oh,
slap
their
patch,
downtime,
unless it's
that's
pattern
something you'll
damage,
do
the
quick.
slap patch seems to work on everything. It's obviously not going to regrow an arm, but
You
it
know
has stopped
you
blood
don't know.
flow and has regenerated the tissues
Have
thereon.
access to a ley
So
line.
Could I make it so it would actually start regenerating them?
We don't have an access to a ley line, but
Potentially.
I have my own ley line that I have
that would be, you could start your research from there, and you most likely
their
need
ass.
some sort of living entity in which to...
No, it's,
Proceed
you know where the
things.
hag,
Info.
not the hag, the
I hate to say it,
mom Malone.
initial research, it could be
I finished
theoretical,
walking
but
down
at
the
some
river.
point in time, you're
I was
going
like,
to
you
want
know,
to put
we
this
have
on
some downtime,
something,
like,
even if
we'll
it's
go
a
down that
chimpanzee
river
and
and see if I
a...
can figure out where
So I guess
And it was pretty much
initially
what it
then I'm
was. It
just
was a
going to
ley line.
make
Okay.
So she booby trapped the
6
hell out of it,
normal
so I
slap
went back into the
patches
chantry. I'm
then.
like,
Okay. You can give me an alchemy
I'll
roll.
share whatever I get. Somebody needs to pop those spells off for me.
Gotcha.
Are you
So-
using...
I get a
What are you using
couple
to...
miles of quintessence.
What does it create these?
There you go. I've got a ley line.
Is there
too,
anything
then.
better than wax that I can think of, or is
Beeswax.
wax still pretty
You
good?
can use quintessence from
we also
Do you mind if I bathe in this?
from the order. It's just vital essence is a little bit better for this
Mine's
instance.
a flowing river.
A bung in this one over
With
here.
biological algae,
And then we got the one that's
quintessence
the
was
river
better
inside
'cause it had the
Nebraska.
biological.
Right.
The biological
Yep.
helped
The,
heal.
the vital essence. That's better than the
So we have
quintessence.
two
you have.
access
I'm just saying,
points for it.
if all you have is quintessence, you can do it with that.
I have vital essence until I spend the 2 hours to filter it.
I won't be able to go. Well, if you want to go to the Umbra, I can't go to the Umbra.
Vital essence is
If
biological.
you wanted to see Peanut
quintessence,
Radio.
right?
Yep. I just want to know if you had a cache or something.
I have.
I mean,
I have a ton. I had enough to get a few of us.
I'm thinking I'm going to have to go burn.
So
and there's
or my
a lot that's
paradox
being
off, so I'm
processed
gonna
at
do
these
research.
facilities,
And
but that's
You
still
could go
kind
to
of
the Sleep of Ages.
creating more
I'm
value.
just,
That burns your
counting
paradox
the
off.
ones that I took back when
I thought it did.
hers were seeded.
I thought it did.
I thought the only way to get rid of paradox is just.
We had another
let
week
time
go by.
Yeah, and when you're in Sleep of Ages, 2 days it seems like 2 weeks.
Right, but
not sure.
are you incurring more paradox?
It's cat.
I'm very on thin ice.
You don't know. You've never explored that aspect in the Sleep of
Right.
Ages.
We could ask.
We could ask.
So you can give
I'm
me an
just
alchemy
leery
roll.
of doing any magic.
It'll only take about 6. If you're
That's why-
making 6,
that's why I
you
told
said
him
you
you
wanted
Communicate with our
to.
cats, can't you?
That'll take 6 vital essence.
Is there a better material than wax to make the patches out of, though?
Maybe even a knitted bandage might help, but
Well, I mean, the wax just kind of became flesh.
Yep.
So, is there something better?
better in what aspect?
You can eat it after you're done with it.
I think a big syringe. 12 gauge.
Better.
Better. Nothing initially. What you're using is pretty efficient
So
so
we had a
far.
meeting today.
I mean, you could make
Early
it more
this morning
resilient
with,
to
new
outside
insurance.
damage.
Maybe I have it where I put
booted
the
out
slap patch
partners.
on, then I give them a drink that
And,
heals from the inside, so I have it working
coverage.
from outside
And,
in and inside out.
But we booted Hell
That'd be
Partners and went
possible?
with a different one.
Yeah, I mean,
And they came back with we will
the
lower
slap
these
patches
rates
do
by
lose a little bit of
$90
efficiency when you put them
across
over each
pretty
other,
much all
but
parts of
an
the ship.
interior
Well,
injection or
Health
drinking
partners
a
came back
potion,
with that, or
Yeah,
the other guy?
They did it Health Partners.
you have to make some
Advantage.
modifications
So
to
they're
the
like, we'll
slap
drop
patch
family down
to
$90.
create some sort of
So
imbibable
instead of
substance,
paying $4 whatever, you'll
which would
pay
be
$3
alchemy.
whatever.
Yeah.
But for the
So
first
at the
day,
end of it, I'm like,
depending
all right,
on what you want to do, if you want to start the
buddy, this is
research
what
or
we're
if you
all
want to
really
start
I
making
would
slap
like to make
patches.
6
When are you
slap
going to pull the rug
patches.
from
So
underneath?
give me an
It's just like,
alchemy
there's no catch. I'm like, come on now.
It's the next year.
Yeah. And so I was like, he was like, if you want to leave, you can leave anytime. Go back to your old, coverage.
By
I
7?
don't know.
By
$90
$7?
is a lot.
For the most part, I would say
What are
that
they
you could-
doing on the
if you wanted to, you
documents?
could make up to 7 in a day.
We get 3.
You're definitely becoming a lot more efficient
Depending on
at
how many
making
people are
these.
on your planet,
A lot of the
3
first times were
each
kind of
free
prototypes
in
and then different
For a
materials you're trying to make it out of, and then so on and so
Oh,
forth.
I mean,
But
that was just
now you're fairly
co-pays
comfortable in making
and
these.
visits and
So you
stuff
think
like
on
that, kind of
average you can make
deductibles.
around 5 to 7
Because
a day,
usually if they lower
depending.
rates,
So I could
deductibles
make
go
7
up.
this day if I
And that's
wanted.
If you
Our
wanted to, you
deductibles-
only said 6, but
It
you
is
find that you have
2,500
another hour in the day.
individual or
And
4,500
I'll
per
make
family.
7.
So it's a high
Okay.
deductible
I'll
plan.
just
so you can write down
PPO.
7, and then
Yeah.
you have your
Subtract
slap
them.
patches, and you can seal them away accordingly.
So then you don't have copays, or you do have copays?
Each of us have 3 free co-pays a year.
Okay.
So,
So-
the kids have 3, my daughter has 3, I have 3.
So I've made 7 slap patches for our adventures.
I'm gonna try
because
to
they came in
contact her
handy.
best.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So we're going into this is
That's
the next
good.
day.
I'm trying to
you
work
can
on
give me
monocles.
a
So everyone who doesn't
contact-
think
what
I
is
do
it,
anything for the
messenger.
group.
Messenger
I'm gonna burn
Blast.
3 quick
Oh, I know you do
essence
things
into,
for the group. You blind
okay.
people, you deaf people.
Yeah, exactly. That's the attitude I'm talking about. Oh my gosh.
That's all right, yep. 14. Spread on my locket.
+6 still applies to your new luck rolls. Same roll.
Yep.
You can also burn a will if you want to.
How long does it take to gain back a will?
1
It's a
week.
week. You got 5 months.
Sure. I'll burn
Yeah, we're not
I'll
going to
burn
get
it for the
5
first
months.
God. Don't listen to anybody else but yourself.
No, burn it.
No, I ain't gonna burn the will.
You got 5 months.
I'm happy to develop a mechanic where the PCs are like, yeah.
I like it.
I'm not gonna burn a will, so I beat it by 11.
You at 11?
You could have done it by 13.
No, I need that will for something.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
I'm down 3 will.
So I'd say, what is it? You end up spending
Well, we had
I
a
said
week.
I wanted to suspend just a flat 2 days.
just flat 2 days.
Just trying to
We had a
contact
week.
her best.
We gain a will.
Unless I
week
get some type of
Will
signal,
week.
We haven't had
otherwise
it for a
that's
week,
saying
1
that
day
she
now.
is.
Since
You haven't
the
been able to
Chantry
find
event,
an
because
Urbast.
We had the
However,
gate
late
opening
into the
a
second
week
day-
from the Chantry.
Oh, did we?
You come across a girl who appears to be picking
So
up
is
a
it a
cat.
will week?
and
It is
looking
a will
into
week.
it. She appears to be somewhere between 7, maybe 8. She's wearing simple kind of was it cloth clothing? She seemed to be in somewhat
What's
of a
the
simple
quintessence
wooden
we charge
cabin.
One a month.
You can see light out in the
That's what I
distance.
thought.
It's very bright where she is. And there's
you
also,
just want
I suppose
me to help you out.
it's
No.
you can hear people, or
Or
at least
you're
see
still-
some people in the background. It's hard to tell where exactly
You
this
still
is,
have
at least from the
paradise.
interior. She seems to inquisitively kind of look at the cat. You don't have any perspective of the cat other than it appears to be from the perspective of the cat.
Mm-hmm. I'll ask Scarlett does she know where this cat is?
Scarlet currently is
Oh.
acting as a conduit.
I'll say hello.
Hello?
Is this? I'm looking for somebody with Urbast or
Bast?
yes,
You're looking for Bast?
yes.
Oh.
I wonder if that's equivalent to saying I'm looking for God.
Tell me if you find her. That'd be neat.
Well, I think there's a couple people trying to look for her. I just wanted to see if anybody's found her or her, know where Urbast or her first priestess or whatever it was. That Lana is back.
Should
Okay.
we be spreading
Yeah,
that?
I don't care. Everybody else already knows about it.
Now they do.
And so, if you know of anybody that what's your relationship to this cat?
She's my house cat.
Is you- Are you able to talk to your cat?
Yeah, I talk to my cat all the time.
Does she respond to you?
Yeah, of course. She doesn't know when she wants out or...
Yeah. How's that working
food.
for you?
Yeah, it's gonna work for me.
Clearly.
Look, is your mom around? Going all
My
out.
big sister's here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll go find her. She disappears for probably about 10 minutes, and you can kind of see the cat is just staring there off into the distance. After some time, there is a fairly attractive young brunette. You'd probably say maybe early 20s. She seems to look at the cat and kind of look over at her presumably younger sister. There is a slight resemblance, but you're not quite sure if this is like physically or biologically her older sister. She seems to be wearing kind of similar type clothing. It almost looks slightly colonial, but it has kind of a... It's new clothing, but it definitely is very ham-shackled and simple. Yeah, hello?
What city is this?
She says, this isn't a city.
Oh, what town? Where are we at right now?
I have to check my records here.
Who are you trying to contact?
She'll tell Moja. She said, I suppose this is North Moja?
What continent is that on?
I'm going to have to say Moja. I'm sorry I can't be more helpful than that.
What's the name of your planet?
I'm going to guess Moja.
Do you know who Bast is?
Of course I do.
Is she... Explain to me what you know
Is she
of
there
Bast.
right now?
She tells you that Bast is the... what is it? The great cat goddess. She was worshipped on Earth some time ago. What is it? She'll tell you that she's the protector of all her children and the cats here in the great cities.
Have you heard of her priestess at all? By somebody by the name of Urbast.
By Urbast. I think that was the name of the first priestess.
I'm trying...
You see that there are a couple cats in the background that kind of run past.
Okay. Do you have the ability to also speak to the rest of the cats within Moja?
And yeah, they're right here. Are you talking about communicating through their...
Yes.
She says, yeah.
I have reason to believe that Urbast is still around, or even Bast herself, and I'm trying to find her.
Of course Bast is around. How do you think we're doing this?
Well, I'm trying to find her physical form.
Physical form? I don't know. She's a bit ethereal. She's been known to be capricious. We don't really know where...
Yes.
She's kind of around. I mean, technically she should know you're doing this, right?
I hope so. I wanted to let her know that one of... What do you put it? The Mew people has come back to help us fight some of the older gods that are coming back. And we would like to see if we could find her
They're disappointed in you.
to help us with this.
Maybe she can hear it. I'll try to tell Norm.
Okay. You can reach me back at this cat at any time.
Okay. I don't actually know what cat. Do you have a name
Yep.
or something?
I'll give her my name and all that. And
Okay.
so,
She tells us her name's Jaina.
okay.
She tells you she's not sure of the time differences, but Norn is here every full moon.
Okay. You can get a hold of me anytime. It's not a problem.
All right. Well, I don't have.
It's 1-800 Scarlet.
I'm not sure. How's Earth?
Oh, it could be better.
Okay.
Other than the older gods coming back.
Yeah, that sounds not fun.
No. That's why we need every little bit we need. Or gods that come down and give us an extra winning hand in this one.
Well, her servants provide you with power, don't they? I mean, you wouldn't be doing this otherwise, right?
Far and few anymore, Your Honor.
Well, you've got a cat, obviously.
Her power on Earth is not as what it used to be.
No.
Her temples have long been destroyed, and
No,
only a few people.
that seems more like you guys' fault.
No.
Give it pull line.
I've been trying to pull the line. Well, this probably happened before I was around, but I'm trying to get the band back together, so to speak.
She'll see what she can find about Urbast. She's not for sure 100%. Norm probably knows a lot more. Yeah.
Okay. I'll end with that.
Is there anything else, or
Is there a way that you can transport to Earth or get to?
it's a lot easier coming here.
Where is here, other than I know the fact that it's just called Moja?
I don't know where it is. To be honest with you, Moja is for Bast's beloved few. It's Moja.
Jesus, how are you a bastard? You don't know about Moja.
I don't think I've ever heard of Moja.
You don't realize that most of the bastards are like this.
Yeah, pretty much. Should ask the professor what Moja is. You'll send her on a tangent. How many of them? What's your occupants on Moja? How many people?
She says probably a few hundred.
And they all serve Bast.
Yeah. You're talking about people, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, there's still a couple hundred people.
And probably a lot of cats.
She says, well, yeah.
How many cats?
She says, oh.
They multiply.
I am not going to be able to answer that question. A lot?
That would work.
That would work.
That would work.
We have the fuel for the cat cannons.
Pretty much.
We start cleaning litter boxes in the morning. Finish at night. We're not done.
Are you past the Dreamland on the Umbra?
She would say that, most likely, yeah.
Actually, it's
Well,
like,
if you could find
it's a
out
big
any of that
beach
information
world.
for me, I'd appreciate it.
You just don't
She
want to
can.
walk on the beach.
We live in the mountains.
She says that she'll try to figure out a way to contact you back.
Okay. So, the cat's name's Scarlet.
Okay.
How'd you have it?
She tells you that this is Princess and this is your younger sister Penelope. Her name's Jaina. Is this up here?
Yep. Okay. So, and then the rest of the time I'll study just the basic intro to, hey, so you found Mew. Here's the intro to speech and theory.
So, what do you guys want to do for the next 2 days? I know B's been talking about some things. You'd mentioned researching stuff about.
I go back to Varus to find out. He does his alchemical thing to see if I'm too much on the bubble for him to do anything with or not.
Yep, we had talked about that just previous, and he said that he'd want to see you down around 4 before he starts anything specifically.
Okay.
It's good that you warned him prior because he would have found out eventually. Just he didn't want to waste anything.
All right. Do you think there's any danger traveling through the penumbra or low umbra?
Well, he says obviously there's dangers in both.
Well,
but
I
the
meant-
low umbra has.
I just
a lot of
meant
issues.
in regard to the paradox that I've accumulated.
He says that you're an unstable element, so he would try to refrain from you going. Was it anything mystical happening around your person?
Okay.
It's really up to your discretion at that point.
How about the gate that is going out in Nevada?
Oh, he says the transatlantic gate.
Can I walk through that?
He has
up
a-
front?
He would imagine so. He says paradox could sink in any particular way.
Okay.
He doesn't have the
Kleenex
hypertech background.
boxes for you on your feet. You don't get slippers anymore, so sad.
It's very difficult to determine what happens with paradox. Usually, if it hasn't detonated already, you're pretty safe provided you don't agitate it, but he says it's nitroglycerin at this point. You could tap it lightly and the whole thing could decide to go.
All right. I'll walk through the chantry and go to where I want to go then.
Okay.
At this point, I put my hand behind him. Hey!
That's all right. Trust me, if I blow up, I'll just hug you tighter.
Worst idea ever.
You want to use your week then, B?
Yep, I'm trying to make these practice lenses so I can make everybody some
So we got through the first day.
goggles.
Okay.
We're on second day.
So what do you want to start to work on? Like, which one did you want to start to research first?
Dimensional seems most important, spirits.
Okay.
So
Can you give me an engineering parachronic? If you don't have that, you can default off hypertech.
I think I do have parachronic though.
I think that's one of the ones that you do have a good background in. Because a lot of Walter Recker's research originally was in heavy cross-bridge particles.
That still looks good.
So do you have to
does the strength stat cost?
I did by 6.
10.
Okay.
So do you have to designate the compensation that
What are
you're
you trying to improve it for?
Oh, I made
I've
up
got
all
diagrams or
I
whatever.
was
And you're
making
trying to
thing
get
for
something
a
that'll
Star
fit
Wars
inside of
campaign,
a monocle.
and I made all of these with the assumption that strength was 5 for some reason.
Oh, gotcha.
you have to list the compensation you're running?
It's not so much of an active sensor,
Right,
but
so
if you
buy
think
four.
that you could use the type of
type.
premium that you're using in your
So
batteries,
compensation deflection.
and along with some other materials, cause it to react
And you can
to
double
cross-bridge
check, like, 'cause I'm not
particles.
child work if
Meaning
you
it'd kind of be
stack
like
it.
a
So I
dumb...
think you just have like compensation 1, 2,
It'd be a
3,
little bit
and
like
then
a dumb...
it's like if you have deflect harm and then
Yeah.
Geiger... Not a Geiger
mental
counter,
ward, but if you don't do
it's somewhat like a
deflect harm,
Geiger
it should
counter.
cost you
But
3.
Yeah.
as it would pass through the film of the lens,
But I guess
it
once
would
you bottom.
light up.
Okay.
So if you're looking at the detection of the emission, it'll give you kind of a rough idea of where it's coming from.
Well, I haven't bought anything
Okay.
yet. That's
So-
so make sure.
Over... It's
Are you
not as
going
high
for the next-
resolution, but
Are you saving
if you're
yours?
looking at something, it would roughly tell you if it has
Compensations.
cross-bridge particles or not.
Your power or your
Fair enough.
points.
That would be
I got
fairly
spells
simple to
on
do.
my
You think
mind,
you
so
could accomplish
as
a
soon as I
detector
can
system like
practice.
that for only, I would say, about 1,000.
Okay.
But the prototype might be a little bit more expensive, and you might have to make a couple of them before something goes right. But you're fairly capable.
Okay. I'll practice.
I would say you can throw things around the first day. We'll go into the second day, which you've used, and the rest of you can decide what you're doing with that day.
I'm going to travel. I think the Chantry had openings in France still.
It did. You can give me a 3d6 roll.
So I just walk.
Yep, I'm aware.
I've got a 12.
A 12. Upon entering into the Chantry, you come out in what appears to be an older building. You would say this looks like some sort of mining town. It feels as though when you attempted to enter subspace, at least with your ability to somewhat feel space around you, you skipped through somewhere. You're not sure where you are exactly, other than you have to be connected to the Chantry somehow. But nobody's on the other side. You can give me a geography or a land navigation. I will mention it is very cold and it's snowing outside.
Might be Russia. The old motherland.
You're in Turkey.
There's a 17.
17.
It's on the land navigation.
Was there
though.
intelligence on this one also?
So I'm going to miss it by,
At that 25%.
let's see, before it'd be by
Yeah.
3. I failed by 3.
You're not sure.
5% discount, yeah.
If anything, this looks to be some sort of
It's only
Chantry
15%
site that was shut down. Not recently, probably years back.
Mm-hmm.
It appears to be some sort of...
Can I see anybody around at all?
As I said, there's nobody here. It's quite cold. I'm assuming your character is probably wearing brisk... What was it?
Yeah.
Clothing suitable for December in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
However, arriving in this location, the snow is kind of piled. It does give you a reminiscent feel of that Steely Stone location that you've been to before.
You know, it's outside. I mean, I pull out my binoculars and kind of look
You would say
around.
this appears to be some sort of a general store, at least used to be. There's aisles and I would say barrels and what the hell is it?
CEO.
Display cases,
Crazy
but they're
New
empty
Damage.
other than occasionally you'll see some rope or a knife or something like that.
Okay.
Exterior, it seems as though this was some
No
sort
advantage.
Go to
you'd say either a
features.
mining town or there was some
Yeah.
sort of operation near
Plus
here.
sign.
Yep. Reduces
I walk
the
around and see if I can
cost
see
of
anybody,
IQ.
if I can see anything, scope the horizon. I will be saying Mrs. Eckhart's
Okay.
true name or whatever.
Okay.
Reduce
See if she
the
can hear me.
attribute cost of
25%.
Moving around sometime.
I was
This
it's
is at the
Sykes
top.
too if he can hear me,
They
if he
hold
can
IQ
stick his hand out of
discount.
nowhere.
Yep. You initially kind of look around before, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
doing any of this.
I'm going to laugh if that happens.
You're not 100% sure, but this in fact might be some sort of Russian location that was shut down some time ago.
0.
Maybe it's just your looseness when you end up going through any particular... It's a mystical
Yeah.
portal to subspace, so maybe that's
Okay.
what caused it.
Okay.
You hadn't reacted when you were exiting this location, but that means that your current build-up could be causing any travel of this nature to
Okay.
go further than you should.
Yeah.
But yeah, it appears it might be Russia. You can't think of any other location. The only thing is the place you'd been to before with the Steely Stone was very reminiscent of this,
Okay.
like some sort of abandoned city. However, what is it? You will get upon saying Mrs. Urquhart's true name.
Yeah.
Sykes does appear at your location. He seems to boil up some of the snow that's nearby.
Okay.
He doesn't say anything initially. You can forego the fright check. You've seen him before, even though he is quite.
He's hideous. He fills my nightmares.
He doesn't have any noticeable eyes, so you're not.
Do you speak English at all, Sykes, or is it just purely demonic for you? I'm assuming you can understand me, so nod your head.
You'll
for
nod.
Yes or no? Okay. Could you take a message perhaps to Mrs. Eckhart? I wish to...
He'll nod as well.
I wanted to pay a visit to see if I could perhaps do some research on the upcoming campaign against Mormo. And I've got a bit of a paradox build up here, so I'm having troubles traveling. I don't know if she'd be inclined to assist with my travels back to her house. I understand going to the Low Umbra or near Umbra.
Sykes will take a finger and point to himself, and he points to you, and he points to the west, presumably.
Okay, so are we just going to walk there, or are you going to take me to the Umbra? Because I'm afraid I might blow up if I go into the Umbra.
You kind of make a motion like going underneath.
The Low Umbra? I think I can still blow up in there, too. That's my whole problem. Is like traveling places could be bad. I know you don't really care. You're not the one that's going to blow up.
He'd survive.
Of course you would. Why don't you hang out with me for a day so I can just see if there's anybody else around here. We're going to be stuck in the middle of nowhere.
Pointing to himself, he'll point off to the west. He seems to disappear.
All right.
You can give me an HT roll. You can head back into the building, dry off a little bit, but I mean, there was kind of close to waist-deep snow outside.
Okay. Health. So it's 11, 13. So success by 2.
I mean, sitting for any period of time, you're going to have to start taking down pieces of the wall and building a fire.
Okay. I'll build myself a fire.
All right. Do you have anything on your person to start a fire? You could use fairy fire.
Sykes, are you back here?
There's no response.
Okay. I'll build a fire.
Do you have everything to build a fire? Do you have bees? Survival kit?
I got bees survival kit. I can pull that out.
Okay. There's some extra clothing in there, and then
and the
put
fairy
that
fire
on.
just surrounded you, keeping
put it on my super underwear.
Freeze.
Part of the problem with the fairy fire is it does in fact do real damage, and it does cause real heat, but 85% of it is not real, so you're like, no, I'm toasty warm, this is good enough. In actuality, you're frozen.
But
you can give me a survival Arctic at a +2, and then the default if you don't have it.
I actually got it, because at one point in time we went up to the Arctic.
Oh, that was a lot of epic. It's like, we're going to teleport out of the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to jump.
I'm all over survival Arctic.
I think that's when he was building up Paradox.
12, 11. So by 3. Success by 3, and I have the skill.
Okay, so yeah. Takes you some time. Ultimately, you can kind of warm yourself up and you build a fire. It doesn't seem like any of these buildings are going to be used anytime soon, so a lot of it is somewhat dry, but
okay.
Yeah. Probably about 40 minutes passes, and you kind of in this shitty general store.
Yeah.
You hear someone knock on the front door.
Okay, I go over and open the door. Hello?
Mrs. Urquhart's kind of wearing a sundress, and she's just kind of looking around.
Please come in if you wish.
She's just an unusual location.
It is unusual.
But she's fine with it.
I tried to come out in France, I think was the Chantry, and this is where I came out. I got a lot of paradox built up right now. I was wondering.
You do a lot.
I know I do.
She says Angus does it a lot too. But you're pretty adept at it, I would say.
I'm trying to get to new levels of mastery. I was wondering if it was possible if I could come to do some research at your facilities. We're planning the upcoming campaign to...
she has a library that she's been preparing inside of... Was it Drum and Drocket?
For our campaign against Mormo.
Yeah, she's more than willing to help you.
Okay. Can you help me get there without having me blow up, or...
She thinks so.
Okay.
She thinks that you should be able to sidestep without dicking up your immediate vicinity, or at least moving on.
Okay.
She says that, however, if you don't feel comfortable with that, she can arrange other travel overland.
What do you mean sidestepping? Do a transpose?
She says that's the Garu term. She would say transitioning to another dimension.
Going to the Umbra?
Yeah.
Or the Low Umbra?
Yeah, she doesn't think it should cause an issue.
All right. Let's go then.
She'll take you there.
Okay.
This time, for the most part, you guys are in the Penumbra.
Okay.
It's kind of cold there as well. But taking some time, it seems as though she kind of travels fairly quickly.
Okay. I try to keep up.
You somewhat keep up. It seems as though she has, when in the Low Umbra, an ability to find unusual pathways to new locations. You're not sure if it's really a spatial effect or if it's something akin to what those platypoids do.
Okay.
But it seems as though she has different abilities when in the Penumbra.
Okay.
You're not sure the basis for it. It takes you probably about 2 hours from there. You get a little bit cold, you lose a little bit of fatigue, but otherwise you do make it across into the Great Isle area. You can see something that will give you a fright check, but you'll get the bonus against it. Well, relatively speaking.
Let's see, it is around 218. So I got it by 11.
All right. Coming into the area of Drum na Drocket, it initially appears to be some sort of low umbra, but she just, what is it? From the area, you'd probably have seen the low umbra enough where this appears to be the penumbra.
Okay.
It does have a slightly demonic feel to it. It's like you're entering some sort of old 40K city.
Awesome.
You will find that there are scattered bones of potentially what are other spirit creatures, or at least things that leave physical remnants. You also come across a surprising amount of what appear to be hybrid bones from Blue Hades, and occasionally even larger skulls and bodies that you would imagine came from a full pureblood.
Okay.
They are scattered pretty heavily near what appears to be the Steely Stone inside of Drum na Drocket. You don't know how these things have died, but you get a feeling that there's things kind of hidden, shifting around here. They may be in the low umbra.
Okay.
But otherwise, whatever's happening in the city is having an effect on the nearby spirit plane.
Okay.
From there, she's able to bring you into Drum na Drocket. Drum na Drocket is fairly, what is it? How do I put it? It seems as though activities are carrying on in Drum na Drocket as though nothing's really wrong. I mean, you can tell there's a difference. The local church has been converted into some sort of Temple of the Twilight. Temple of the Twilight...
Harvester or something, right?
Twilight Harvester?
That's what it was.
And there's various people that end up having ashen kind of runes painted on their head as though that's some sort of daily ritual. Otherwise, there's people that are baking bread. There's people kind of manning stands and otherwise farming in the nearby area.
Yeah.
Given from what you understand of the area inside of Scotland, I mean, it's pretty bad here, too. You're not too far from the coast, so you'd expect this to be a little bit more chaotic.
The war goes well for you?
She says that they haven't had an issue holding any kind of land interior. Okay. From what she understands, that a lot of portions of Scotland and England are already falling into the oceans.
Okay. That's not good.
She doesn't have any, she believes that this area around Drum na Drocket, as much power as she can garner, will be able to hold the front for the time being at least. Okay. She might transition to a new location. However, the what she'll describe as Urquhart Castle, the old ancient castle here, is somewhat of a spiritual major defensive point. Okay. What she'll describe is there's only one way to attack it, and it's across the lock from the spirit plane. So that's most likely where she would start to evacuate people to.
Okay. I do give her a bag. I say these are some demon fetishes and masks with people's face on it. Pull off some chocho.
Yeah, she'll see it. This looks like chocho.
Yeah.
She says most of this is just human teeth and other things of that nature.
I don't know if they're used for you.
Lucky. She can put it to use.
All right. So.
Next time you see her.
No. I'm sure she gives it to somebody else.
All right.
Oh, wait a second. I look like that mask. Beat up.
It's
she'll
stylish.
Just put it, what is it? She'll hold on to it for the time being. She'll probably hand it off to somebody at some point in time
until she wants
bring
to
it back to the church.
Okay.
Otherwise, she will point out where the library is. She'll ask you how you're doing. Obviously, you built up a lot of bad juju.
Did a lot of teleporting in a place that was very firmly anti-magic, but it was necessary, so...
Oh, she says those old alien places, right?
Yeah. So, but anyways, we're on to trying to figure out the next phase, and so I thought I could perhaps access the library.
She's built up a fair amount of resources here. She'll tell you that...
Any lines of research that you're currently in regarding Mormo, or...?
She believes she has most of it figured out. She's come across substances known as primordial darkness and utter dark. She tells you that Nebru often surround themselves in armors of pure light.
They're pretty good.
It's very difficult to penetrate. However, what she'll tell you is darkness that has never seen darkness that has never seen light has a very destructive effect against this type of armor. Okay. Also, utter dark has a tendency to collapse other what have you mystical shields like this. She believes that the only thing she really is requiring is some sort of massive diversionary force.
Okay.
because she likely would directly confront the Bureau of Water Reclamation. She's talking about Mormo. However, if she were to attack with her forces, she most likely would be much more cautious about things happening. Okay. She can detail more specifically about that. However, she says that she's not sure if the other Bastites would be able to go through it from her understanding. However, she had contacted an individual by the name of where are we here? It's in my notes. She contacted an individual named by Father Cornelius Michaels. He's currently in France. He knows her as Sister Melissa Cordu, and she says it's best that he keep that identity, what he understands.
Melissa Cordu?
Yep, okay. Cordu. It's best that he continue to believe that that is her persona. At least he not not help in the future.
Okay.
But apparently she's come across something known as a animus baptismal, an ancient Catholic baptismal, supposedly purify yourself and protect you from demons. However, there's certain prohibited factors to it. Only certain individuals
you can't be a demon.
So you can't be a demon, obviously, and you probably can't be a Bastite either then.
From what she understands, you can't worship anyone but their true God, or at least the rough translation would be anyone but God. She also has a few other things like witches' charms and various things of that nature to help in the cause.
Okay. Is there really much then that I could research to help?
She says it would probably be helpful for you to understand what you're fighting.
Okay.
She can provide you more information material. You can ask her questions or go through the library here.
Maybe she can point me down the road. I was coming here to try to look for primarily kind of weapons that we could maybe use. The artifacts that you'd given us that shape them into some type of weapons to help the group collectively.
Generally, an entity like the Neberu or an ancient creature such as that can only be damaged by something that is just as old or as powerful. So you're looking at things that existed before human civilization, or things touched by a power that had existed prior to them. She says things like the carpenter's blood, but also other demons of that age, or even ancient primordial creatures from an era long past might be able to damage her. She believes the blood would act as a hindrance. She's never fully tested it on somebody like her before, but it wouldn't outright kill her, but it would significantly disrupt her ability to channel her power.
Okay.
Which ultimately, she says that's really what she is a whole lot of power. Her minions vary depending on the ones that have been built together and scattered. You'll come across undead creatures, mummies, minor demons. What the hell is it? A decent amount of
I was gonna go get some.
what are those called?
Not rush.
Fomori. She says like half human, half demon hybrids.
Okay. I'll spend my time, I guess, researching the minions just to find weaknesses.
She also will tell you that she has
your chairs on top of your
rough
cord. You don't want that.
She has a list of components that easily could be smelted into standard iron firearms that would have spiritual significance to a lot of the creatures that you're coming across. She said, I mean, you're still going to have to deal with your upper level echelon of demons, but your standard ground folk, there's certain things, like she'll mention, what the hell is it? She'll mention various alchemical components that would be more useful than standard bullets against these type of creatures.
Okay. And you're thinking we need to have the Rainbow Division involved in providing the...
She
diversion?
immediately sees that as probably the easiest.
Okay.
The individuals are already somewhat invested in the situation. They would have the not only would Mormo was currently in somewhat of a cold war with them. If they brought in sufficient force, she believes, with even modified technology, she can't help too much on that, but she says that things like those spirit bombs have been effective before, and she's seen mortars and things of that nature, so one can only imagine what sort of wizardry she'll say.
I'll see if we can't get them enlisted then. I'll start those wheels in motion, and if you can give me those alchemical components, I can...
She'll give you a list. They're actually fairly common. You can give me an alchemy roll or thaumatology at a -2.
Thaumatology, yeah. So by 8.
Okay. You'll find a lot of strange components, kind of like broiled goat's horn, certain types of garlic, herbs, maiden's blood, things of that nature, where it doesn't necessarily require anything permanently damaged.
Okay. All right.
I'm a little out of it today. Excuse me.
So, basically, I'll just...
Game grape!
Maybe it's the Mountain Dew grape. I don't know.
Yes. I'll spend some... I won't take her away from her... I'm sure she's got pressing matters, and so she shows me her library. I'll go put my nose in the books. As soon as she kind of leaves, I'll go ahead and radio B. You got a pen handy? Actually, don't need a pen. I forgot. I can tell you a list of alchemical components. These can be integrated into bullets for upcoming offensive against Mormo.
Okay, got it.
You should also try to enlist the aid of the Rainbow Division, as we'll need them to provide a diversion with opening an offensive against Mormo, that we can use them to take her out.
Okay. Do we let them know who we're working with?
I can keep that in the background for now.
Can you let them know that they're just a diversion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let them think we're the main strike force. You provided the thing that's keeping their... only reason the East Coast is alive is because of the stuff you're doing, so...
Yep, if it wasn't for the timely intervention of B and even the power source with Mechlot to a minor degree, that most likely would... The previous buttresses they had in place most likely wouldn't have held, and New York City would be Demon Town.
Right. I'm guessing most of the East Coast, but...
They might have expanded from that
Northeast.
point. But.
So, I would pass that along to our...
What do I need to make bullets out of?
Diversionary friends. It can be bonded with...
A lot of the materials it gives you, alchemically, are actually mundane. Kind of think of your wolf's bane, silver dust, goat horn. I mean, they're mundane, but apparently they have some sort of world significance. So there shouldn't be any issue with deployment of something like this. You just have to know.
Right.
And apparently we just learned
2 parts of this, 3 parts of that, different things like that. Right? So there's this Colonel's secret recipe.
Okay, I get the...
I mean, it doesn't sound unusual. You know things like certain fairies are only hurt by wrought iron, or
right.
And then if you
werewolves are susceptible to silvers, so on and so
you
forth.
can pass on to the professor and Althea Montrose as far as protection, primordial darkness and utter dark. Might be substances that can help protect us as well. As
Primordial
darkness and utter dark, as well as being potentially
alchemy, perception-based alchemy on that. B. No, that would be an IQ-based alchemy.
As well as they could be potentially offensive nature too.
Did it by 3.
By 3. You vaguely remember references to utter dark. It might be some sort of substance that you can collect in pitch black regions, but you're not sure how primordial darkness. You need to.
How you just
research
juice
that.
night guns to that.
I don't know.
Primordial darkness is beyond me. Utter dark is...
You've heard vague inclinations when you're in the Dwarven Society that such things existed, but you hadn't worked with it prior. You understand that there's some sort of ritual in which, kind of think of a photograph. Was it a photography room? It has to be collected in unseeable conditions.
Okay.
And supposedly this has an effect on light shields created by the Nebaru.
Okay.
You guys had seen that there was strange invisible cloth that had covered some of those creatures when you had interacted with them before, and it did seem to stop certain rounds from hitting. When you had collected it, it evaporated back into light.
That's not for me to solve anyway. That's for the professor and Theomantros. So I pass along the knowledge to the professor and Theomantros about primordial darkness and utter dark.
All right. You'll hear back later in the day regarding that. Althea will end up hitting something with that. She says that there are ways of creating utter dark, but primordial dark, she says, are only left. The only remaining amounts would be in the dark places of the world. She doesn't know where you would find them, but she would say you could start looking in places like ancient caves or underground structures, things of that nature, but from the sounds of it, it's very hard to come by.
Okay. So dead end. But I do get the quartermaster buying these mundane things.
She says that utter dark is something that she can find recipes for.
To make?
Yep, to make.
All right.
But
Well,
the other stuff, she's not sure where
I
to
need
get
recipes. I need to turn them over to the quartermaster. I get the quartermaster buying genuine wolfsbane, genuine goat horns, and genuine
There's cloves and a bunch of other ingredients that...
cloves.
And do you say genuine before all of them?
Genuine.
Yes. Genuine.
She's got a 10-page document as to the certification of the purity.
Yep.
The utter dark, Althea Montrose will tell you, is actually the individuals that could produce it the best would be the Chantry. It's very likely they might even have some in back stock. The rest of the stuff is pretty mundane. Even with the right naturalists, you could actually go to a store or even like little Chinatown and purchase those sort of things.
All right.
However, if you're looking for a quantity, if you're talking about arming soldiers, then you'll need a lot.
That's right. And I need to turn into bullets and stuff.
You don't have any issue collecting small amounts of it. You need to set up some sort of distributor for things. I need a lot of wolfsbane, I need a shitload of goat horn and things of that nature.
So I turn the quartermaster loose.
He'll start to investigate into it. He'll have to call kind of overseas and other things of that nature, sending off telegrams. It'll take several days to hear back from anyone. But he imagines that Cairo, places like that, might have larger stocks. So he'll send forwarded messages to...
And I tell him we're going to be using the dimensional thing, and I'll get a trailer on my van, and we'll haul it back 3 tons at a time, or whatever we can do.
Yeah. Tells you, unfortunately, China's the largest
Don't go to China, I tell him.
Largest collector for these sorts of things, and apparently they're experiencing difficulties.
From what he understands that shipping to Great Britain, where the other location is very hard.
So don't look there either, I tell him.
So he says that the transatlantic gate connects to London and Nevada. So he said it would be standard. You'd be shipping it from the Chantry, really. So you'd have to ship it through.
Right, except for I tell him that I have my own personal gate that I use for me.
Okay.
And it's not related to the transdimensional gate. It's need to know. So
Okay.
you just get the shit lined up at a dock, and I'll pick it up.
Okay, he's willing to do that.
Give him the 2 thumbs
He's
up.
never seen that before.
I
Mind you,
know.
there's only probably 4 people at your
Need to know.
base have known about this. You guys disappear for a few days in some sort of small bunker room off-site somewhere, and then...
Yup.
However, as I'd mentioned before, at B's facility, you'll occasionally see an individual wearing some sort of weird clockwork armor. Seems like they continually monitor it. They end up kind of rebuilding pieces and things of that nature. So far, the individual is up and running. However, Thomas seems to be heading up this project, and it seems like they've been making tangible gains in the power armor division.
Awesome.
We see him over there, the patents. I'll be rich.
Is that Erickson's character?
Yeah. Thomas Winfield. Yep.
He'll be rich.
I have all the gold. What do you mean there's no economy?
All right. So, what were you doing for the?
I'll spend the rest of the week doing research on, trying to find more, about, the underlings, how we can kind of combat them, best weapons. Also looking for potential ideas of how to use the blood on what the best delivery system might be, or what we can craft it into, and basically kind of funnel stuff.
Yep, you can if you're continuing to do some research at her location, you can find the right moment. So, do we want to start moving into a week basis or day by day?
Can I do my week?
Yep.
What I'm saying
he's
is
asking if we want to move there. You don't get defensive. He's just asking.
Everyone else is making
mind you,
arrows.
I know, and then
your week might be interrupted. I'm just saying, did you want to move into rather than a day by day? Did you want to move into something else?
I'd say let's just go to the week.
All right. So, did you want to work on your next 6 days, presumably, if you're taking that amount of time?
Well, I only did the first day, so is that 6?
6 more in addition to this. So, a full week.
So, on this first day, I kind of wanted to... I said before I wanted to look for a property near B's, like adjacent, property-wise, and purchase that.
You can give me a perception-based merchant.
Perception, 16. Merchant is IQ -1. Same. 15. Got a 13 by 2. Or no, Cthulhu dice by 3.
This section is mostly kind of industrial. You're not able to find anything terribly small. The only thing you can find that's relatively near B's facility, it would be adjacent but kind of in her back lot, would be a 4 by 10 acre strip that could be purchased.
How much?
I would say probably around 8,000.
Damn. I'm 1 paycheck short.
1 paycheck short.
From what you understand, Walter Riker had bought up a lot of the larger lots in this region.
Since I was making the slap patches in your lab, I'll ask you if you know anyone with great diplomacy skills.
Diplomacy?
Yeah, I'll say I met this realtor, and they want 8,000 for the property. And I was wondering if I knew somebody, and someone came to mind who could negotiate them down.
God, I'm out there negotiating land deals. You see, I'm in a lab looking at utter dark, and I'm at Wolfsbane, I'm grinding it up to a base.
You need a break,
Can you get
man.
him on phone?
You need a break.
Wow. So even when you're on your own time, I have to spend my time.
Can I call him?
You don't have to.
It's like, you shoot the bolts, I'll make the electricity, man.
I would say that you could find a location that has a phone and then call B.
Oh, I was in her lab, though.
How many of these acres do you actually need?
The problem that he's running into is they're not selling it acre by acre. What he can find is a 4 by 10 acre strip.
So like 4 by 10 would be 40 acres, right?
Yep, a 40 acre strip.
I'll take a 4 by 4 square.
All right.
If you want to buy the rest.
I'll buy the rest.
So, 40, I'm taking 16.
It is adjacent to your property, so it will kind of be a nubbins on the tip of it. But
yep, just a nub touches like my property's here, and
yep.
It's a long strip, and I get all this, and I give him a spot at the end. Do you really want to be adjacent to us?
Yeah.
Well, you will be. Did you going to have a road.
Did you take the only road
Is this
access?
property inside the shield thing?
No, it is not.
Okay, good. So it is not inside your shield thing, if that matters for you.
The field created by the relay actually doesn't cover most of B's acreage. It just covers a large.
How about I go
a large area around where the buildings are built,
and that way I'm paying. It'd be half, and you're paying half.
Yep, that's fine.
So 4,000, 4,000.
Yep. So do you still want me to negotiate, or can I just send you over some money?
You should negotiate.
No, just go over there and buy it. Done. I put my money down. If you want in, buy in. Otherwise, you're going to be looking for it.
Sure, I go up and make the realtor really happy by paying their asking price.
Okay. Well, it's a fairly cheap bit of land to begin with. Nothing. It's mostly kind of dirt and...
farmland?
It's not farmland because the area I described is a little bit kind of more... what is it? Think of kind of like in Nevada.
Okay.
It's a little bit more kind of undeveloped area. Scrub. Okay. It's scrub, a little bit of wetland coming near where he is. Okay. But yeah,
there could be a ley line there that he needs.
There could be. They're theoretically scattered across the globe.
All right.
That'll be the first thing I do.
Go out there.
I go out there.
Mosquitoes and malaria.
He spends the next 2 months. Oh, where's my quinine?
Is there anything weird about the land?
You can give me some primal flares while you're out there.
Oh god, it's hilarious.
There's a 12. So there's an 8. So by 4. I got whammy. I'm gonna lock it.
Yes. You just gotta take those lumps.
7.
How'd he die? Checking on his property on the
Exactly. Problem flare.
So 4 or 5. How many
See
more
a
you
shadow
want?
on the tree.
3 altogether.
And there's another 4.
The bark
4,
is peeling,
5,
the
4.
shadow is going away.
Nothing unusual. The only thing you would have of note is this particular section of land
He
is
denied the fact
relatively
that he said that they weren't going to lose their
relatively
health
lower
insurance.
amounts of primal energy,
Then
just
all of a sudden
ambient.
he's like, I'm sorry.
Lower
Like they're finding
amounts.
themselves in a
Yeah.
situation based on the assurances they give.
Most of the most of the area around B's facility was also like that. So
Ground drudge report.
you're in some sort of mystically desolate biome.
So
is he actually apologizing then now? Okay.
But people are going to be like, oh, that's okay.
Can I-
No, I think that's going to end. What's
could
his
I
approval
hire
rating's already
like?
approached 30%?
Basically
It's
saying
winter.
Every day this goes on, he
So I
doesn't
probably couldn't hire
apologize if
anyone
there's
to
lore,
do shit.
So he needs to get it over
You
with.
could hire people,
So now he
to
doesn't
contractors
need to
to
apologize.
build
Not if I
things
want
out
an
there.
underground bunker
Yeah,
though.
that's the whole genesis.
You
of what's
imagine
going
to
on.
get
Contractors
contractors to
Delaware.
dig in the middle of winter
Yeah,
might
4
be
people.
more
They
expensive,
spent,
but you
$4
imagine
million
with the right
on there,
value,
so-
yeah.
So
They
those
added
4
people. That's what they got.
How
on
much
their
would it
plan.
I mean,
cost to put
you
like
know
a,
that B still has like there's contractors all
Minnesota's
working
got
across B's
11,000
facility
miles.
still to this day, even though it's winter.
What do we spend on
They're still
ours, like
digging up
32?
hard compacted
Spend a lot.
ground. Boyker must be paying them very well for whatever the hell they're doing out there.
You've
But
got
Well,
well, 4 million
if I
canceled
wanted, like,
losses because of this.
warehouse,
That number will just keep-
Steve's barn sized bunker
Somehow it's good.
underground.
Steve's main
not
building
just whole
is
building.
quite
Whole building.
expansive.
Was it Mensure that we have?
What kind of square footage or
Venture dot,
What is the square footage on your pole barn?
40 by 64, so 2,400 and
That.
that?
160.
And you just want somebody to.
25.
You
I like how
said
they
you
told
wanted an
people it's a
underground bunker
marketplace.
like that?
It's a what?
Marketplace.
You'll find that for your particular area, there's no access to the power grid. You'll have to run a line out there.
I am
Fine.
not concerned with that. In fact, I would rather not run the line out.
I live in a
bad.
dark hole in the
I
ground.
was hoping his arrogance would allow him to stick it out a little bit longer.
I have a friend who
Somebody
makes
got
generators.
His wife.
You can make a perception merchant.
Peons.
Okay. They finally went
Possibly
down.
is the guy that has all the power.
By 9?
The
For about
Chief of
2,500,
chief of staff is probably the person talking
given the
sense.
time period, I'd probably say 3,100. They're willing to dig a.
I find out
How
that
deeply did
anybody's
you want
talking
your
sense.
bunker down?
Get out.
The polls.
Maybe it was the
Like
I think it was all the congressmen and senators that he pulled.
one story underground.
It could have been
One
that.
story
You're right.
underground?
Could have been.
Just falling.
So like not a basement but a sub basement.
You're done.
Yep.
Right.
That'd be pretty easy for a
You're not wrong.
bobcat to tear down.
You need to
Well,
apologize.
1929.
Can't you freaking call it?
Excavator then.
Yeah.
People are idiots.
They're willing to do that for 4,500. They
Be
could
fun
get
to
up the
watch,
basic framework and access to it.
New
They
York
could
start to circle
install
to the
some
wall.
cabling, but of course it wouldn't be
the
hooked up to
system there.
electricity or anything. Or
He's already like, all right, I'm going to increase cigarette tax by like 25%.
Yeah. I mean, he's literally a Marxist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and also they could put in the basic piping.
What didn't he say in his speech? It's like, you guys
But
want
of course that would be not
you
connected to anything initially either. Not until
we
you
should
put in
probably
your own
quit
septic
talking.
system.
You don't have to edit all this out.
Septic system
Otherwise,
comes
his
with
YouTube
it.
hits will go from 2 to 0.
You want the septic system for 4,500? And maybe a merchant.
The sad part is he's got 4 friends that play. So I guess that's his mom and
By 4?
Jolene.
I was thinking Jolene back.
Yeah, they can
There
do
you
that.
And
Some
the
guys
basic
for
access
benefits.
is just
Listen.
at like a little
I
concrete
would, it's
shaft
just
with
I have
stairs
no
down
time,
to it.
Okay.
I suppose I could just go in there
And-
and like it.
And a ventilation shaft.
When I had both
Yeah.
arms, I listened
Or
to
2.
them. I have
Okay,
to
2
be honest, I haven't
ventilation
listened to them
shafts.
since, but I do go look to see, just to see if
And-
there's comments.
Okay.
Usually it's
Yeah.
Jolene.
If they don't want to put a little roof,
Is it really?
I'll
I'll
go out there and
she had a
put
tutorial
2x4s up
or-
and put a roof over
Just
the
under
stairs.
11,000.
But otherwise, I'd
What?
assume
They could
The
have it
numbers
like
for
some sort of
Mensure.
storm cellar out in
Yeah.
the middle of
So
nowhere.
they have
1,009.
numbers for me.
Camouflage it or do
Yeah.
what else you
Where
want.
did you find that?
So they'll do
I
that
typed
for
in
4,500.
Mensure,
They'll probably
numbers.
take you. It's going to be about 3 weeks
Like,
to get that
Star
done.
Trib actually
Okay.
just did it.
Yeah.
But
Just under
we'll start
11,000.
working on it. You can have your paperwork finalized by the next day. So you spent the money?
Yep, I'm $49 in the hole until the end of the week.
Okay.
floating alone.
So you're trying to hit up some people at B's laboratory?
Nope, he's panhandling outside the bank. No. You just got a deposit, you dirty dog. Give me some.
No. I go in the morning, the next morning, and I grab the box of donuts, and then when I see Jack walking, I'm like, $50, buddy.
There's no way that you're going to get Jack to give you $50.
You see, he pulls out a rusty 15-penny nail and shivs it out.
It's like, I believe those donuts are free every Tuesday, so you better drop those, buddy.
I've got the shiv to prove it.
Oh my gosh.
One of the researchers will lean in like, he's not joking. I would say that one of B's researchers, they can spot you $50 until next week.
He's like, really?
You already blown him through that $32,000.
He's working on some sort of advanced reactor. Like, I need $49. And he's like,
really?
Okay, really? All right. So there you go. They'll start work. But once it's been about 3 weeks from now, they'll give you progress updates.
So if we're doing the whole week, then can I make some research rolls on, like, injecting some sort of like wax patch additive thing to heal faster?
See, he's going
from the outside, from the inside.
So more, you're trying to create more of a
with the
classical
12 gauge
healing
needle.
potion with alchemy.
Or an injection that
I'm going to try to learn it new stuff.
I don't know.
Okay.
Whichever would be more effective.
Done.
You'd say a direct injection probably to the area that's damaged would be the most effective.
Don't get me wrong.
But a healing potion
Logical,
would be
right?
Yeah.
As effective, but it has to go through. It would have
I
to
can
get
heal
into your
you
system.
fully in like
It wouldn't
10
be
minutes,
as
We're all going to be
as
sparking big
immediate.
tumors and growths.
So I'll go for
and
like
along.
a allergy hypno
What's
then
this
if I can.
foot
That's
You can give me a
My
research
stomach.
roll.
Research by 6.
Okay. I would say you can give me an alchemy at a +3.
So by 9.
By 9. You think it only takes you about a day and a half. You'd think that with some modifications to the type of vital essence that you're doing with the slap patches, along with some basic ingredients, probably around somewhere close to about $5 to $10 per batch. Just kind of minor. You're not
Busted.
What?
turn that down, Steve.
It's off.
Yeah. Along with about $8 worth of additional components, you could create some sort of injectable liquid healing element.
So I'll ask you if you can spot me some money so I can make healing potions for the group.
Didn't I just buy like 40 acres of land?
No, I bought that.
Oh. I reach in, I pull out some hundreds. What do you need again?
So actually you did. You hit me up for 50. I'm playing your researcher. So
I pay him back his 50.
Hey, thanks. You
Here's
kind of walk
1,000.
on.
Sign this. You owe me 1,000.
Okay.
And
Right.
50.
You're not going to get that back if you die. You know that, right?
Otherwise,
get it back
you have an
through this.
idea. You haven't made a prototype yet, and of course, I mean, you'd still want to try it on something living. I mean, you're pretty confident. You're like 95% confident. It's just that 5% you want to make sure the dog blows up.
Well,
Unless you feel that animal research is unethical,
it is.
then you can try a hunter.
Hey, Hunter! Well, we don't really have any seriously injured animals. Where can I find seriously injured animals?
You would have to hurt them. You'd pull out your knife and you'd go, cut, patch. That's the way they do it.
I will go buy some mice. I'm sure they're like 25 cents at the pet store.
That might be cheaper.
Yeah, they're probably cheaper.
You can get one. in
They're
the
probably like in
backyard.
this era.
You
Mice?
have-
You want to buy mice?
No, I'm pretty sure that he could go.
They'd established a scientific method.
I'm pretty sure.
I know, but I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he could easily
But you're
go
also
down.
in upstate New York. What? What do you want to do?
I'm
that
pretty sure
for?
he easily could go down into the boroughs of New York and find like, you want rats? Yeah, sure.
Not sewer rats. I want mice.
That's the best. He's got 10 sewer rats wedged into a cage. They're like feral cats.
You can find mice. They're more field mice than laboratory mice.
He comes
Sure.
There's not really a standardization in mice as of yet.
Cure for
time period, but
I'm okay with that.
he's got little rat bites all over his
And
ankles.
I would say $1 for a batch, like a baker's dozen.
sure. And then
Baker's Dungeon.
I'll test it on him for the second half of that day.
Okay.
And then, so 4 days left.
So, what have you? So, one of the days would have been for, what is it?
Yep.
Buying the land and then doing some other things.
And
And then a day and a half later
so
for the
3
research.
days left.
Yep. You can give me a prototype, so an alchemy roll on the potion. You can burn one of your vital essence in addition to $8. Herbs like mandrake and what have you that you pick up
Provider,
in
do you have
town.
Verizon?
Got 4.
4 or what?
Cell phone.
Look at republicwireless.com.
By 3.
Did you
Yeah.
try that last time?
Look this time.
But
I think
do
it
I
was
still get
Verizon.
bonuses from the research and that stuff?
That's what's allowing you to do this.
Okay. And
You think by the end of the day, you don't get to quite to testing, but you think that you have something viable that you could cause harm to one of these test mice and then try to see if it regenerates.
when I see Hunter walk by, I have him poke the mouse.
I haven't seen him so far.
Not there.
So
Okay.
he was going to go to the chantry and
Then I poke the mouse.
all right.
Or
For the next
cut the
day,
mouse
you can
or
give me
whatever.
a research.
So this would be the first of the 3 days then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Making sure. And that's by 3.
By 3.
Click on Moto
So
X,
far, you'll end up
check out
burning
plans.
2 more vital essence along with $16. When you go through various mice, you get it a little bit more, I suppose, effective. You're now looking at something equivalent to the slap patches, but it's injectable in the area. This actually might
That's on
affect a little bit quicker than the slap patches do, but obviously this doesn't immediately stop bleeding or seal up the hole.
So together it would be really
Together
nice.
it'd be really nice. You could create
10 days a month.
like with ammonia snaps and some other things, you could make your own alchemical first aid kit. That would be very effective.
Yeah.
So
On
it'd basically
Black
be
Light,
like
you
they
use your
lose
phone
half their side. Yep, you're good to go, buddy. Keep shooting.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
No.
Hear that? Just for
Otherwise,
you.
I don't usually need
there's
to be patched
some
to
additional
people.
refinements you most likely could do once you actually start using this on people and seeing
You
the.
can
But
figure out what
you're pretty
network
confident this should be
they're on,
working.
too.
Okay. Could I make
There might not be one that's good. I don't know.
4 of them to take into the field then?
Not today, but tomorrow you could.
Okay.
You can give me an alchemy roll.
6. So alchemy by 10.
By 10? Yeah, you managed to make. You could probably make 5 if you needed to.
I'd like to make 4.
All right. You burn essentially $8 per, and then so those 4, and then so 32, and then your
Yep. So I'm at $48 on them.
and then 4 vital essence.
4. Okay.
You feel as though you could make minor healing salves, but without the vital essence, it loses some of its potence. So there are ways of making non-vital essence healing herbs.
They're not as cool.
They're not as effective.
Okay.
From what you can
And
tell. And you have about a day left.
well, at the end of that day that I finish making them, I'll put together like little pouches or something like that, and put a slap patch, an injector, and
You
like
can give
some
me a
sort of
first aid roll
wake up
or a
snaps.
position at a +2.
Heather's on Street Talk.
First
That's
aid.
Walmart.
Yeah.
She likes that.
No
She doesn't
first
love it, she
aid.
likes that.
Any physician?
It's 45.
No.
I'll give you an
Unlimited.
IQ roll.
35 with lemon. This is
IQ by 3.
price.
Yeah.
You've set together a thing. If you think you had more
Trying to figure out who
practical
handles their
experience
towers,
and what you
but I
might
don't know.
need, like
It
things
might
like
be
ammonia
something
snaps or
Verizon
stuff like that.
I just want to put the 3 things in there.
Yep.
Okay.
It's not as effective as it could have been if you had a first aid kit where you could throw in those minor things and then
Coverage map.
very effective. But it's pretty decent.
Okay. And then, I'll have those sitting in B's lab, and I'll
Sprint.
put everyone's
Sprint
name
or
on
bad.
one of them
Huh?
in the group.
Sprint, good
So-
or bad?
Depends where you're
Or
at.
there's technically just 4. And
I've
there's
actually
a bunch
thrown
of
my phone at work
3 slap
because of
patches left
sprint,
over.
and I've lost all coverage.
So,
and I'm like a quarter mile off 81.
Yeah.
I'll put B's name on one. I'll put the professor's name on one.
Right in Maple Grove, where they built that new North Memorial.
Who else in the group actually helps
I was a quarter
people?
mile off of that. To the
My wife had sprint. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you can decide however you want to.
I'll keep 2. I'll give 1 to B and 1 to the professor.
It gives you a pouch that has was it 1 slap patch in and 1 injectable. What appears to be some sort of concentrated vital essence compound in a syringe.
Yeah. Noted. Carried.
I'm calling them hyposlaps.
I'm gonna make sure I get your name right.
All right. Anyone else what they wanted to do for their
I'm going to do
many days?
I will explain.
speech theory on Mew.
It's for wounds,
Speech
right?
theory?
Yeah, I'm going to figure out. I'm going to try to find the intro to
Okay.
the Mew language to see if I can break it down, so I can learn.
Super
it faster.
effective wound
You
healer.
can give me a perception-based linguistics.
So then Ian on my last day, depending on what happens, I'm going to start working back on the gravity.
8, 9. By 8.
It's very difficult to learn, I suppose, large quantities of it. Each sigil is so complex. It's like learning a small subsect of some other language. You would say that symbol drawing Mew could help in this instance, but you think you could start to learn individual words, at least from the book itself.
All right, and then I'll try to then I'll move it to disintegrate. See if I can figure out the sentences with disintegrate.
Okay. You believe using the book you could increase your ability to, I suppose you have a more pure source as to what disintegrate should look like.
Yeah.
You definitely could continue research into that progress. You don't, I suppose you need to first get a couple of words before you can start actually developing sentences.
Yep. All right, I'll try to figure out as many words as I can. That probably.
Like I said before, you can decide which words you wanted to learn, and we could decide on, or at least we could talk about the meaning and what it may do.
Demons are a form of spirits, right?
Some of them you believe so, yeah.
So can I disintegrate spirits?
Potentially, yeah.
We don't have souls anymore.
You will be aware that might affect other spirit-like entities.
Fast.
Potentially, you're not sure what kind of effect it would have on
Scarlet.
your Scarlet, but Scarlet is...
Well, if they were encompassed within the field of disintegrate spirit, yeah. But outside the field, it should be fine.
You should think of limiters. Disintegrate spirit in 10-foot square.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I'll try to figure out that way.
Okay. You would say...
Or disintegrate the person on that person.
You can give me a research roll.
Or disintegrate undead.
Yeah.
A bulk of Mormo's forces was of an undead
Undead.
persuasion.
Alright, I'll do disintegrate undead then.
Okay.
I'll do the research.
And then you don't have to specify.
That's 11.
We're going through the adventure, he disintegrates undead, and Althea Monstros disappears, and we're like, holy shit, did not see that coming.
I'll beat it by 1.
By 1? You think you might be able to use disintegrate in that manner. Using the book, you have a rough estimate.
Okay.
The only thing is you'd have to be relying on your memory to make that up. You are aware that you could try to learn unlife as a word in Moo.
Okay.
But you think you should be able to do something similar to that with disintegrate at a penalty.
How long will it take me to learn unlife?
Here, physically, since you have to access the book, probably close to about, I would say, 5 days or more. At least have a basic idea.
And then to learn how to lack for a better word, conjugate the two. Combine disintegrate with unlife.
you believe that would be some familiarity, but if you knew the two words fairly well, you don't think that would be the limiting factor.
Then I'll sit and I'll put all my focus on unlife.
Okay.
Well, I won't put all my. I'll focus on the word unlife.
You can give me a research roll.
That's 5. Beat it by 7.
Give me a fright check.
By 11.
By 11. Remain your composure, but where are you doing the research at?
The sanctuary.
Cat sanctuary. During your research into probably nearing the end of the week, you feel as though you have somewhat of a grasp of unlife and at least how it's spelled out. However, during your initial prototyping, if you will, there was a point in time where the cat food started to drag itself along the ground. A nearby leather chair started to kind of creak and moan.
Alright.
Initially, there might be some progress, but the cats scatter like shit.
Alright. I'll work on it.
Alright. So far, they haven't stopped. I mean, it seems as though your chair, even though not knowing where it is moving.
Okay. I'll try to...
Cat food is rolling on the ground.
I'll try to combine the two, disintegrate with the
How's his
unlife.
stomach feeling?
Okay.
I'll try to do the two.
You can put 1 point into unlife,
More Mew shit? God damn it.
and then you can give me the roll on the lower of the two as your combined roll.
What?
If you had symbol drawing Mew, you might be able to get a bonus, but...
I didn't know that was an option yet.
Yeah, symbol drawing, I said Mew. Symbol drawing might provide some...
Well, it looks like I'll be learning some drawing Mew then. Is it a hard skill?
It, for unlife,
Mm-hmm.
I would say disintegrate's hard as well, correct?
Huh?
Is disintegrate hard?
Yes.
Or is it very hard? Yep, I'll just put it at hard then.
So that's a minus 4.
Be a minus 2
2.
initially.
So alright. They're both the same.
So then you give me a roll on that.
Beat it by 1.
The chair seems to start to break apart, so does the food on the ground, but not all of it has been affected. All of it stopped moving, though.
Okay.
Something did happen. After that, the sigil quickly breaks apart and then disappears. You might have drawn it on a piece of sketch pad and then...
Alright. Then I will try to... Once I figured out that it'd probably be easy for me to perfect it with symbol drawing Mew, then I'll go back into symbol drawing Mew.
Okay.
So I'll do that there. And that
You can give me a linguistics.
perception based.
Yeah, I'll give you perception based linguistics.
Beat it by 4.
Okay. I would say that the time that you spent on researching unlife would be applicable towards that, so if you wanted to, you could put a point in symbol drawing Mew as well.
Okay. Question. Do I have that on here? Would that also be perception based, since my other symbol drawing mythos would be?
If you have symbol drawing as perception based, then all your symbol drawing
Okay.
skills would be still perception based.
Okay.
Otherwise, that would be pretty much the remainder of your week. B.
I'm working on the lenses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get an assembly line together to get all our parts for bullets. And I'm also trying to contact the Rainbow Division to see if they're on board for an assault. Maybe I can turn over the assembly of the bullets to them. And
initially talking about the information to Bureau of Water Reclamation and the 42nd Infantry. They're interested in the alchemical components. They will give it a shot. Colonel Smith would want to talk to you personally about any kind of endeavor like that.
Basically, unlike what Hunter wants me to do, I come flat with them. I tell them that we have big players that want a diversion, and we need to be careful that we're not getting stabbed in the back by them. And if he wants to know more about the big players, I'll certainly let him in. I trust him.
He would like to hear more, but he'll tell you that given the scenario, he doesn't like the idea of, excuse me if I use this correctly, but assisting another demon and taking over territory or the army.
The thing is,
so it can be used.
It frees up New York City.
He says potentially, if everything were to go according to plan. However, he feels bothered by arming guerrillas to take over a government that we don't like, and whether or not that's going to come back to bite him in the ass.
The good news is this demon's based in the British Isles.
He says from what he understands of other dimensions, the distances between places change.
I understand.
He's willing to hear more of it. He'll set an appointment with you in a few days.
Okay.
He would like to know what your plan is, but he's not making any promises as of yet.
Okay. Yep.
Otherwise, you can give me... so your engineering pre-con, you get an idea. You can give me engineering materials.
What's your shirt? Is it Q-tips or?
I only did it by 2. Do I want to do it by a lot more?
Oh, wait.
What is this regarding lenses?
This is building the... at least trying to engineer the material that would act as a reactive material to crossbridge particles. So a clear lens that would change colors depending on with the emissions of crossbridge particles passing through them.
Did it by 10.
By 10?
Yeah.
You would say that you found a relatively simple process. Maybe for around $500 a piece, you could create a crystal monocle that, without any source of power, would change color in certain regions, somewhat highlighting objects, not necessarily actively, but passively. There would be a hue change, which would be perceptible, and possibly with other mechanics could be amplified. But this basic material would act as a crossbridge particle detector. The same way the color strip would change, like with pH, except in the absence of crossbridge particles, it would go back to a standard transparent state.
Does that fall into the dimensional?
Yeah. You assume anything that has cross dimensions would have a heavy crossbridge particle.
That's passive. That's awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think I can mass produce it.
Like I said, if you're willing to put in the materials, you are limited to what you can make here at your laboratory. So mass produce, as in 20 every few weeks. Yeah, you think so? Mass produce for an army, it would take a while. It's just because you have very high-end equipment here that only really kind of serves to make smaller objects. Okay. You would need some sort of massive industrial system to set up something like this.
All right. I'm going to start cranking these out at 20 a week or whatever I think I can do.
Okay. So the material itself is pretty sound. It's actually cheaper than you thought it would be. But part of that you might think is because you have a good background in parachronics to start with. You can give me a mechanics parachronic, which you can default from engineering, or you can default from hypertech.
I don't think I'm going to have mechanics parachronic, no.
A -3 engineering parachronic.
I could do 14, or I could do hypertech with a minus.
Probably -5 hypertech. No, I wouldn't say that. I would say -2 hypertech.
Rolled a 10. We did it by 7.
By 7?
Yeah.
You believe you can probably put out about 4 of these units per day that you actively. You don't have to be watching it. It's just you have to check back on it. Think of a kind of an easy bake oven type scenario where you end up setting the molds and then checking the materials and you test. Then occasionally there's one that's not as reactive as you would like, and then you can chuck that. Okay. But for about 500 a piece, not including man hours that are somebody might spend like 2 hours a day doing something like this.
Okay.
Over the course of later in that evening, you'll find out that apparently there's been the 42nd Infantry did a raid on a Chinese restaurant called the Heaven's Delight. You'll find out information regarding this because apparently that's where they had tracked back some of the missing weapons to.
Okay. Apparently
the individuals there had strong Chocho associations, and they even believe that there were minor, some of the hobos that went missing in the city were related to this.
Okay.
They even found one buffet item that they believe to be mostly ground up human entrails. Word will kind of get across, and there'll be one of your researchers that just is over a sink for like a week.
But it's so good.
Pork.
But apparently they believe that they were ambushed at some point in time while operating within the region, and then they weren't expecting some sort of entity like this. But they believe they routed out the majority of them. They're going to be continually searching, and they thank you greatly for the information providing them about the rifles and what happened.
Oh, shit. Something got to be.
So what do you do about the cannibal on staff?
The cannibal ones?
The cannibal on staff. You have a cannibal on staff.
He was
accidental cannibal.
He was an accidental cannibal.
Okay, but now he craves human flesh. What do you do about that?
You got to put him down.
All right.
Does he start looking even paler when he hears that?
So you can work on other projects while you're currently
baking dimensional lenses.
Yep.
I do let the Rainbow Division know I'm making dimensional lenses. I can make them available for $1,000 a pop. You can see spirits.
They'll like more of the technical details. If you can send them a rough idea of how it works.
I send them a rough idea of how it works.
Your primary contact will be Dr. Darius North. Later on into the next few days while you're kind of doing other stuff, they are very interested. They're very impressed of the practical way that you had created this. However, they don't necessarily have the means to reproduce it right now, but they believe they could produce something like this, and that'd be incredibly useful in the warfront, at least inside of the city. And they'll tell you that they've been having a lot of issues inside the continental United States, given spirits, ghouls, and they'll even tell you that they've had Garu activity in North Dakota around Alexandria. So they would be very interested in this technology.
All right. Right now I'm just slow rolling them out, but I could.
They would love one of the first samples, and
I give them if I have 5 samples, I give them every one of my samples. If I got 10, I keep one for myself.
Okay. Like I said, you can make about 5 a day.
Give them the first few hits,
Yeah.
See if you can use them.
No. Like I said, later in the week they'll be very interested.
Yeah.
They would like something. I suppose they would like to see, if possible. They're assuming for the 1,000 you'd have some sort of headband.
Basically,
or something.
It comes with the headband and the whole thing. You can slide it in front of your eye.
Okay.
I could do that, can't I? You want me to make rolls or?
No, you don't really need to do that. They're very interested in it. So you have buyers for that, and they'll work that out with Jason Eichholt. Okay. But they most likely would want a smaller shipment, then they would start using them, and then from there they might talk about larger purchases of how many you can produce. So the limiting factor at that point would be
upgrading to a factory.
How much you could end up producing.
Yeah.
However, it sounds like they might be able to produce their own facility, and then you merely are acting as a patent holder for.
That's fine too. Yep. I don't.
Right now, I mean, they only have a sample. They'd have to somehow backwards engineer it, and
that's fine. I'd be willing to share it that way too.
Okay.
I'll start looking at biosigns, making those lenses.
Okay. You think that might be a little bit trickier? You can give me an engineering coming into the 5th day, an engineering on, I would say, sensors, if you have sensors.
I do.
I'm already foreseeing that one of my lenses is broke. Well, which is it? I don't see anything.
5.
5?
Yeah.
You have an idea. You don't have anything passive that initially kind of hits you. You believe that there are, based on some of the blueprints that Dusk had provided you, it's going to be fairly advanced. You imagine it's going to be at least $2,000, $3,000.
Okay.
It's going to be a small apparatus, probably about 2 pounds. It kind of detects emissions much like a shark does.
Okay.
So it might not detect all kinds of life, but most life that you understand.
Good God. 2 pounds. Okay, well, I'm going to be working on that, I guess.
Okay. You can give me a engineering sensors. What the hell is it? You can give me a research, I should say.
17 as well. These dice have not been friendly to me. 6.
6?
By 6.
I mean, you'll need a good power source, so you think a small premium battery.
Everything comes back to the premium battery. Yep.
Well, it's the most energy-dense storage container that you can readily make.
Yep.
So a small premium battery, along with an electrical system, a unit to pass it through. Frankly, what is it? Just a crystal medium. That'll be more mundane. Even quartz might work.
Yep.
You can give me a... Coming to the next day, I would say an electronics repair sensors. Or let you get away with a hypertech and a -3.
Electronics repair. Sensors, I even have it. Did by 5.
Okay. I would say you can spend probably about $2,800. This unit is 2.5 pounds. You imagine with more research into it, this is just kind of a prototype. You don't see any kind of major bugs. It does operate for about 12 hours on the battery that it's currently setting on. So you imagine it's more of a device where somebody would flip it on and off for periods of time. You think that you can have probably about a 0.5 pound charger to allow it to charge off of the normal power grid.
Jeez.
But this is what you're looking at right now. But it seems to detect living patterns, at least from what you can tell. Living entities.
That's not too bad.
You can pick them up even in different rooms, but of course if there's a large metal block sitting in front of you, you can't get anything.
Alright.
No, you don't necessarily need any chargers here. It's just if you gave it to somebody out in the field,
yep, they'd have problems.
Yep, they're not going to hand crank the amount of power that this thing takes.
Learn another Mew sigil.
I heard that. Unlife. You're going to turn us all into zombies.
Nope, not today.
If anything, this could serve as a basis for some other powered unit, as in you could integrate some other lens into this system for reduced weight, but it's not as elegant as your passive cross-bridge material.
Right. Well, I'm going to work on this one again and again, hoping to get it better.
Okay. What are your main concerns with this one?
Weight.
Weight, volume?
Weight. I'm willing to spend more, but the weight is killing me.
Okay.
You can only carry so many.
You have to understand, especially with 9 strength. You can give me a research for your last day.
Okay. Think it's good. Did it by 11.
By 11? You think with probably a minor increase in the cost, probably close to about $3,200, it would be using a little bit more rare materials, premium wiring, silver premium wiring, aluminum, which is fairly expensive for the time period.
Yeah.
It would make it more difficult for somebody on the end to actually repair this, but it could be brought down to about 1.5 pounds.
Okay, that helps.
What was the lower two rolls I had to do?
The lower of the 2 Mew sigils.
Which 2 again?
Disintegrate and Unlife.
Okay. Looks like I'll be building up on life.
This manual provides you a means to more readily increase your skill with the Mew sigils.
Sounds fine. Get them down pat.
Otherwise, as the weeks go in, you'll end up, Walter Reichel will be back in facility every 3 days. It seems as though the project is going swimmingly well. Everyone has high hopes about the project. They're moving a lot of critically needed ammunition and food across the barrier. They're getting ready for animal testing, and then they're going to be waiting on that. He believes that there should be little issues. He does worry more about long-term ramifications that might be caused from the field oscillation. But, I mean, he can't... Some people there critically need to be evacuated, and this might be the only means.
Okay. I will introduce him to my designs for the bioscience detector and the dimensional detector to see if he's got any...
He tells you he can't think of much to improve. I mean, you could end up powering the... like I had mentioned to you before, you can end up powering the passive material and making it much more high definition. But he says that the design is very elegant to begin with.
So once I...
he'll have in the back of his mind the other device, and he'll let you know what he thinks of.
Okay. That's all I can ask.
Otherwise, you'll hear excited news from James I. Holt close to the end of the week that apparently the Nobel Prize Committee had contacted the Numismatic Society asking about current information about Walter Reicher, his address, and things of that nature.
He's first up for the Nobel.
So Jason I. Holt had updated their information, but he's very giddy. Walter Reicher is fairly calm about the situation. He says that, I mean, he doesn't know if there's a nomination or anything of that nature, but that would be, of course, for next year. Yeah. But Jason I. Holt is very giddy about it because, like, why are they asking about personal information or his current address, what he might be doing in a few months?
Yeah. And it's for Jason I. Holt, right?
No, it's for...
Walter?
They were asking for Walter's information because Jason I. Holt was on facility during the time that the Numismatic Society was updating. And you know that Walter Reicher is still on the advisory council for the Numismatic Society, and that might be more so how he's publicly known.
Yep.
It's less known that he has a new facility out here.
Yep. Because that's under my name.
Well, it's the Reicher compound.
Oh, sorry.
So that is your last name.
Yep. All right. Well, it's pretty exciting news.
Otherwise, Hunter, you're currently researching in Drone to Drocket.
Get Waka Waka.
I'm going to continue with the research, but what I will do,
get Waka Waka.
Early on is
on the web?
Go down to the town, ask around to see if I can find a seamstress, tailor.
Yep, that can easily be done.
Basically, track the person down. I'll draw a transpose signal for them, see if it's something they can embroider. Basically, doing what I had done before with the...
Yep, they can do that. They'll kind of sketch some patterns out, but they think you can get fairly accurate. I mean, what is your symbol drawing at?
I would draw it for them. It's at 15.
15? They're not going to be as...
16 if I could use my staff.
7 ounces.
Okay. They're not going to be as capable of drawing that particular sigil as you would be, but they can get a close proximity.
Could I draw it like with charcoal or pencil or something?
I'm assuming you take a large piece of parchment or paper and draw out the sigil, and they'll try to follow the pattern on that.
Right.
It's just recreating an embroidery is not going to be as detailed as what you could physically draw.
All right.
You see the?
I did it once before. It wasn't a huge negative, was it? So
it was a lot better than having nothing.
Okay, so I'll ask them if they can
refraction of the light inside the water. And
yeah, they can do that.
Okay. And do they have a specific time that they think that it would be done in?
That's like the bulb.
You come by tomorrow noon?
Well, they'll tell you that they can get it done in 2 days.
So 7 ounces.
From what they'll say that you're higher priority, and they never ask for any money or anything.
I pay them.
All right.
That's pretty cool.
The woman puts it in kind of a shoebox with some other money. It doesn't seem like they've been breaking that out much recently.
Do you have any need for money anymore?
Actually, no, it's 120.
She says that there's close to about a 5-mile radius around the town. I mean, they've occasionally gone out and tried to help with other societies, but they haven't really been doing too much.
There's this thing.
They haven't been interacting with as many outside individuals just because it's safer here. I mean, outside that perimeter, people go missing and things of that nature. So they've trying to become much more self-reliant.
Okay.
So they're usually using a community pool of money if they do trading. So it hasn't been an issue.
Okay. Is there anything other than that can give them for their?
She says that it would go into a pool, the money, and they'd still trade occasionally with nearby towns.
All right. So what do they think would be a fair price then?
She says that she would do it for free, given what she understands. But if you're going to be fighting creatures out there, so she would probably say a fair price, maybe $2.45.
Okay, so $3 a deal.
She says, yeah.
All right. Then what I'll also then draw out is basically draw the mental ward on like something that's maybe say 6-inch diameter, 8-inch diameter, and ask them if they can make a skull cap with
5 stars on Amazon.
So put that on the fabric and then turn the
Waka.
fabric into a skull cap.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the same thing with so how much do they want? I want 5 of those.
She would probably say something similar, so maybe $1.
So, and then again in a couple days or something like that, they'll have them done.
She wants to emphasize she doesn't really need your money.
I understand that it's going to.
It's better used for something else.
No, it's fine. And then the last thing I'll see if they can embroider for me is I'll make a primal ward, say like 8 inches in diameter, and have them put it on like a light undershirt.
Yep, that can be done.
T-shirt. So 5 of those. And again, I assume in a couple days.
Yep.
Okay. So once I get that set up, then other than that, then I'll continue my research and trying to.
You need your research. Is there an emphasis for your research?
Primarily, I'm just looking at trying to understand the weaknesses of the foes we're going to be facing, which then could be translated into potential weapons advancements, things of that nature. 17. Apparently, you've rubbed off on me with all your evilness there.
Yeah.
So I made my research roll on the nose.
You had a whammy?
I got a whammy on my research roll.
Row.
But I made it on the nose. So I feed to him a lot of good information. Tell him this is definitely where you want to double down.
I'm just more concerned with the fact that you had a whammy with Paradox.
Yup. So far, nothing's happened.
I had a lot of clicking.
I have to update my charts.
I should check the game score.
All right.
Well, I'm assuming it's not as bad as if it was with an actual spell, which is like
I
magnitudes larger.
You're still counting that +1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that. So I'm not saying that it's not, but it would be different than if it was like, hey, I'm doing transpose, and then I got a whammy on top of it.
Otherwise, you're not making too much progress. What you can see is Mrs. Urquhart seems to be fairly sound on a lot of the stuff that you're fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, undead, demons, Fomori, spirits, kind of a mixed bag of troops. So it's going to be a little bit different tactics depending on what you come across. But generally speaking, large primal blasts, heavy gunfire, things like that should tear up quite a bit of it. Things later on, you might be coming across individuals that are invested with the power of Nebaru, meaning they might have abilities to move space and light. Okay. So you have to worry about that. Otherwise, you're cruising. You're cruising. Mrs. Urquhart will talk to you on a day-by-day basis and see how you're doing, kind of offer some hints. She'll also tell you that there's been something following you on the outside of town. It hasn't moved past any of the wards. However, she wants you to be aware of it.
Do you know what it is?
She says it looks like a cat.
Serious?
Yep.
Okay. I'll go visit it, I guess. I asked her if she has any means of detecting my paradox level.
She can kind of smell it on you.
Okay. Is it going down at all, or?
She doesn't know what you're doing, but it's not going down.
All right.
She says, there are ways of, I suppose, actively detonating that paradox, but given the amount you have, you might want to let it bleed off. Okay. However, she would say that if you had demonic power, then you would be able to survive something like that, and it would just be a minor issue. But to each their own. She'll take you on to the outskirts. You don't mind if she comes with you?
No, that's fine.
Right, she'll walk out.
All right.
You guys spend a couple hours walking out to that perimeter.
Maybe meet your cat.
No, you guys probably take a truck. One of the passersby. Sure. Everyone seems to be fairly enamored with her inside of town. Occasionally, you'll see her talking to an oddly shaped individual in a cloak that seems to be a little bit Hunchback of Notre Dame-ish. but otherwise just kind of moves around. People don't seem to really pay much attention to it at all.
Yeah.
You guys take a farmer in the nearby area. It takes you guys kind of where the perimeter is. You can see what appears to be strange paper wards and things like that kind of strewn about, farm fencing and
maybe like a
trees
line
and
kind of thing.
It's kind of like a fetish line. Occasionally you'll kind of see things like bones and other things like that carved up. Most of it seems to be animals, but occasionally you'll see like a large skull, which looks to be some sort of sea creature that has been carved up the wards. Obviously the people here aren't really disturbed by any of it, but I suppose if you had the option of either worshipping some sort of horribleness or being one of the people that are eaten by the horribleness, dragged into the sea alive.
But you'll be buried at the sea.
So, coming to the edge, for the most part, you haven't seen too much.
Right.
She says that Zykes had informed her that it's been moving around the perimeter.
Okay.
She says if you go out there, I'm sure you'll end up finding it. We'll keep an eye on you while you're out there, just in case anything happens.
I appreciate that. You're always keeping your eye on me, and I appreciate that too.
She says you're a valuable asset. She doesn't want to have you just disappear in the cracks somewhere.
I understand.
Or get blown up or things like that.
Exactly.
Like the British Museum, she says.
Yeah, I understand.
How'd you know?
The British Museum was classy.
It was horrible. It was god-awful.
Ultimately, heading out, you can give me an observation that's perception-based. It is visual.
I think my favorite part of that was I reach for a bandit, it disappears. I try to turn the once more, it disappears.
Well, it's pretty sure that it just didn't disappear.
Let's see. So 9, so that'd be 8.
You had seen something in the past. It gives you a reminiscent feeling as though this might be the thing that had been following you the last few weeks, but it's always kind of on the edge of your peripheral and it's always gone when you look for it.
Okay.
You had seen a silvery object. It seems as though when you kind of got closer, it jumped down from a tree. About 5 feet down the tree, it seems to have disappeared in what appears... you don't get a terribly good, decent view of it. It appears as though it disappears. You're pretty sure that it didn't hit the ground. It seems to just disappear.
Okay.
You got the teleport cap.
You know that it'd be... If it is teleporting, then it'd be easier to find it with magic, but given your current circumstances, you might just have to loiter until you come across it.
Kind of hang around, I guess, and...
You can give me a tracking...
Since my research is not going so well, let a day go by. Tracking, so it's at 10, 11. So 7.
All right. You have ID'd, of course, through the remainder of the day, some sort of fuzzy entity. It appears to be a cat. You have seen it actively, what appears to disappear into pockets when it's got it up to high speed. Okay. Usually it jumps down and accelerates through gravity and then disappears. Mm-hmm. So you're not sure. You've never seen any kind of transposed sigil or anything else of that nature. Otherwise, it does seem to be actively following you, but
sure it's a cat,
when you're trying to approach it, you haven't been able to successfully find it, but you imagine that if you spend more time, you might be able to come across it. Yeah. You're actively aware of it now.
Okay.
The cat's got paradox, so you got it from Hunter.
Cat's like, you shit me, right? This is the jerk off I'm with.
Otherwise, when you come back to the evening, Mrs. Jericard will ask you how it went.
It was a fine day out in the woods.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
She says that there is a buffer zone past the fetishes, but she can't account for everything out there, of course.
Yeah, I understand.
She will tell you, it seems like the cats might be interested in you, but she will tell you that power from her is not fickle.
Right.
And it's always going to be there for you when you need it, not whether or not you're partying.
It's like a pair of lead shoes, you know, you got it anytime you need it.
Yeah. I tell her that there's a certain level of interest, however, the group has made it fairly clear that such investitures are not welcome. So
she understands. She doesn't want to put a wedge
she's
between
kill
you
all
and your
of
friends.
us. Like, yep.
What's that?
She doesn't want to put a wedge between you and your friends.
Yep, all your friends have died. I'm coming back to you one last time.
Valuable asset, you say.
Otherwise, she'll wish you luck. She'll tell you that the local bar has food for the evening, and you can stay at the parish in the Temple of the Twilight Harvester.
Okay, yeah.
Otherwise, you're always free to come to the Urquhart Manor or the castle. However, she says the castle, she's still working on accommodations for folk. So
I tell her if it's okay, I was planning to stay here for the week to use the library and things.
She says you can stay as long as you want.
I appreciate that.
Plus your soul can stay even longer.
Otherwise, what are you planning on doing for the next day or two?
I continue doing the research, even though it's kind of a bust, and then I will check in with, like, say, Don and was it Angley or whatever?
Okay.
Just see how they're doing. I'd inquire as to...
Don will ask about Thomas. She apparently had been becoming friends with him, and he hasn't been able to travel to the...
He's deep into his research. I'm pretty sure he's into some kind of gay relationship with a German chemist.
You give your cat sauce.
Whose character is that?
Chris's.
Damn.
No, I'm not... I will say it, but then I'll laugh and I'll be like, no, he's doing fine. I think he's up to his research or whatever. I'm not trying to...
She would like to visit him.
He's ass deep in research.
Tell her that she's interested in how he's doing.
Okay, I'll pass it along. Can you go visit? Would your mother allow such a thing?
She imagines that she might be able to, but she doesn't. She doesn't like the babysitters that are attached to her.
Okay. Well, they're like Zykes, right? They're kind of in the background. Most people don't.
She imagines so. I mean, she can kind of tell that they're there. Yeah. She can smell them. But they are very good at hiding, and she just worries that how often they're watching her. Other things of that nature, like is it all the time? And she's not specific.
Oh my God, being watched. I start to. Oh my God, that's right. There's always something watching you.
Now it's behind you and above you.
It is.
It's everywhere.
Otherwise, Angus' son is doing fairly well. He'll kind of shake your hand, see how you're doing. He seems to be fairly cheery. Yep. He's aware that there's a bit of a strangeness to the town, but he says that he can't.
He shrugs his shoulders.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised you're not in uniform. You're not out there fighting side by side with your dad.
He's been working on some projects here, but he has actually worked with MI5 a lot. He's not actually in the what is it? He has not been, what have you, enlisted into the main army, but he has been working for MI5 on occasion. Yeah. He says that his father has been quite a bit as well. He's currently back in the town here.
Oh, he's back in town?
No, excuse me. He is back into town. His father should be back in within the next, he'd probably say 4 or 5 days.
Oh, okay.
So if you're... Yeah. He'll say if you stay to the end of the week, you might end up meeting him.
Yep.
He'll say that he is a little bit weird now. Not personality, just he'll say that his hair started to turn back to kind of a brownish color until his beard. And it looks weird because he tells you it's that Benjamin Button type shit. He says he doesn't really know what that primordial thing does, but it's getting a little bit weird, he says.
Sounds like it's working for him.
Otherwise, they've had a lot of successes on the war front in certain regions. It's just for every 3 scenarios they end up winning for a particular area, there's another 7 or 8 that end up going kind of the other way around. So hopefully hopefully they're going to have changes. They are a little bit worried about that Crimson agent that they had ended up coming across. My father wanted to tell you something about some strange objects they'd come across and see if you could forward those to Beatrice to take a look at.
You haven't been doing anything with white lilies, right?
White lilies?
Staying away from that, flowers or some kind of chemical weapon other than the scarlet.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Chemical weapon?
He says that he, in operations, is more of kind of a support.
I imagine you're up there shooting stuff and ripping its arms off, stuff like that.
Yeah, he says that he's not into the logistics of it quite yet, but his father does a lot of the tactical planning.
Yep.
He says he's taken a few injuries, but luckily he heals very well, so he says there was a bullet wound here and there, and then he got his leg messed up pretty badly, but it's completely healed. There's no scar tissue. None of the children had scar tissue. Neither does Mrs. Urquhart, other than the strange eye pattern.
Right. Yep. Very good.
We don't talk about the eye.
Otherwise, you said, what are you doing at dawn?
No, I just just pay visit to see how they're doing, pay respects, shoot the breeze, that sort of thing.
You can give me another research roll. Were you also trying to find or head out past the boundaries? You've never seen the cat inside of town.
I'll spend part of my time out there. I'll say, an hour in the morning, an hour at night, and then research. And I go visit the other Eckhart kids, and I'm sure there's other people that I run into and talk to. I'm just not always, got my nose in the book, that sort of thing. 10, 11, so this one's a little better. So that'd be by 5.
Yeah. You'd say certain things that can cut off power investiture, like elder signs, might be effective on certain individuals if you can corner them. If anything, you get a feeling that the hierarchy of demons are kind of power based. So the farther you gotta go up, the more powerful the individual is. But there's always, you can see that there might be some weakness if in small particular units you end up taking out a head. The lower might become chaotic. They might fight for who is technically in charge of the regiment that's left. They do seem a bit chaotic, at least from your readings.
Okay.
So, like I mentioned, taking out a lieutenant might scatter a whole.
And is that something they can? Is there any mention of then how that's identified, like via like a dimensional sight or something like that? Just
apparently,
resonance or whatever. Or?
There's a greater amount of power investiture. Not only that, but there's a tendency for those to be linked with quintessence. So primal flares might show, in that instance you were talking about before, like if you're going to target individuals that had that might hold true for demons, but that's not always the case.
Okay. I'll see if I can find ways of identification.
Okay.
Yeah.
Near the end of the week, you might be able to put a point into hidden lore demonology. You might be able to identify kind of crude classes of demons and know their rough power.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I have it, so I'll put a point into it.
That might allow you to try to determine who, but you're making guesses at that point still as well. But between in the primal, watching the small tactics, who ends up starting to give orders, where the mystical energies are coming back to, there's a good inclination that you might be able to figure out who is running a particular group.
Okay. And what does that run off of? IQ something?
Yep, it's IQ.
Average?
But in the field, it might be perception-based.
Is IQ average?
I think hidden lore is hard.
Yes. No, I think it's hidden lore. Hidden lore is
I think
very
hidden
hard.
lore is very hard too.
It is 2 seconds. It is hidden lore. It's right above hypertech. Hidden lore occult. It's a -3.
Yeah.
So that's very hard, unfortunately. But it would give you an idea. I mean, more so than the standard individual that's working for 42nd Infantry. They're not going to be able to identify classes of demons other than what they've previously encountered.
Yep. I will radio back to B that kind of stuff I found with, see if you can pass along to the group, elder signs, some way to kind of cut them off from their power investitures. We can kind of develop something where you encapsulate somebody in it. Maybe like a
Sugar Rush ready?
Foxfire, Fairy Fire or something.
Okay. I let you guys know this. Listen.
And then the other way...
Pentagrams could be effective.
Pentagrams. And then the other thing is, if we can identify the leaders, cut the head off the snake. The body will be uncontrolled and we can kind of bypass things. So things that can detect primal energy or...
From your research, it's very likely that there would be a short power struggle between whoever's left, depending on their relative powers, until they reestablish who's in control.
It might give you a momentary lapse where you can maybe take it.
Yep, and if you have the right forces, you could roll over that objective and then before they gained any kind of coherence.
Okay. I'll let you guys know that pentagrams, detecting power, attacking leaders. That's what Hunter wants.
Elder signs.
Oh, elder signs, sorry.
Yep, just passing stuff along to people.
You point, I'll shoot.
Alright. I'm hearing that this is reaching deaf ears.
Otherwise, you feel that there's a lot more relevant information here, and you could spend quite some time looking through these books. They seem to be very up to date. Some of them have been written recently. You're not sure if by the townsfolk or by.
Can I learn the language demon?
Oh, abyssal.
Abyssal.
You can give me linguistics, perception based.
What's that? I don't have the actual skill.
I think it's going to be a perception at -5.
There's a whammy again. I'm gonna have to quit rolling these damn dice. Freaking curse of the criticals. So I'm gonna fail that by if I'm alive. Boom! There he goes.
You can give me a 3d6 roll.
Does it matter if I roll the whammy dice or not?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't give you a +1.
I rolled low. I don't know if that's good or not. It's a total of 8.
Nothing.
I can write down 95%. I'm just going to have to retire those dice for the evening, boys. They're hot. Very hot. Radioactive hot.
Not so far. You've been able to pick up anything regarding the language.
Okay.
Can you get paradox by rolling those dice and rolling the other sides? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. That's what Ian said.
No, he's shrugging his shoulders when I ask him, though. So apparently you have different information.
Your character has never had any issue with it. So you don't know.
You've just been sold a demon soul. So, anything happened at the end of the week?
Another thing. What is it? Sometime during your escapades out, probably later at the end of the week, you come across a creature out in the woods. It seems to be primarily sticking outside of town. You're not sure if the wards are having any kind of effect on it.
Chipmunk.
Pretty much.
That is awesome. That is you call it Fluffy?
I don't know what the hell its name is. It hasn't told me its name yet. You don't
Sasquatch. You don't get to name it.
It'll be awesome.
It's called Sasquatch.
The creature has in the past kind of jumped away or otherwise used some sort of mystical means to evade your following. This is the only clue was at point in time you're heading back. You've seen this laying on an old stump, and it hasn't moved as of yet. This is the first time it hasn't left anywhere.
How long did you see that picture?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
You had to wedge it between.
Or you just outlined like, yeah.
Okay.
Hilarious.
I'll try to approach it.
It doesn't seem to move. It seems to stare at you intently.
Is it just like bones still like...
You did not see me.
Anything on your mind?
You're just asking this to the entity as you approach. Mm-hmm. You approach. There's a quietness for a moment.
Entity. I don't like the sound of that.
Well, the thing is, you could say a cat, but it's been mystically getting around, so you're not sure. However,
freaky-looking cat.
Oh, that's because it's
photoshopped.
Oh,
it's Photoshop.
Whatever. It looks cool.
Oh, it's got a human face in it. That's why.
Yep. You're a bit taken aback. However, the entity seems to have a commanding voice, and you see its little lips move. You associate with demons, Hunter Wagner. Where does your heart lie? Mind you, this is coming from a small cat, and you're like, all right, that's...
They are allies of convenience at the moment.
Well, my phone was probably there.
Demons? Don't think anything bad's going to come of that.
The tables work.
I have companions who think that there are things that we can learn from them in order to fight other demons. So, are there things that could be bad to come from that? Almost assuredly.
A bad streak in you, Dr. Wagner.
I've been told that on more
questionable
than one occasion.
things you've done.
Yes, I have.
You got Yoda cat.
Trying to get... You're trying to get Bass's favor for your own agendas?
It seemed to me that our
transporting
goals...
cats into the jungle? You think that's going to do it?
No.
This is actually
it seemed that the goals somewhat coincided in that you want to fight evil, which is primarily the biggest thing that's going on right now. Humanity's in a tight spot, like any leverage point to be able to help that.
It's a noble cause. Where do you lie, Hunter Wagner? Where do you lie on this line? You've killed a man for a simple vote.
And that is a horrible burden that I have to somehow atone for. I don't know how that's going to be. I try to see to it that the rest of humanity can survive. So
the cat's actually
working with demons as well. Civil rights make a left.
I do what's necessary.
Your directional sense doesn't make you say yes.
I could with directional sense. So
you do anything to achieve your goals, including trying to worship cats.
Again, I saw our goals aligning, and am looking for...
So an ally of convenience? This is what you see the cats as?
There's a big pile of cat
On the
shit.
same pile. In the same categories of demons you put us.
That freaking cat is a lawyer.
It is. I'm going to pull out a lightsaber in a minute.
Words.
It's Shapiro.
To be honest, I haven't thought about long-term goals. I don't see myself living beyond the current war for any period of time.
We're definitely on a fast track.
And I understand that. And so what may be for tomorrow, I don't know. So where do I lie tomorrow? I don't know. I guess I'm a bit fickle myself. I shrug my shoulders.
So what you hope to achieve by freeing cats and hanging around with
honestly
the Professor and Jeb?
They
You
have...
even like cats.
Do I like cats? Yeah, there's a lot. Cats are majestic animals. There's a lot of nobility and things associated with them. I spent most of my life before this hunting them. So, yes. As I told you before, they indicated...
the same nose to brown nose the demons.
If that's the way it is...
Zerkart seems to have a nice rear.
All right. It can be as it is then. I'll get up and I'll just head back.
All right.
So,
He'll follow you for a little bit.
yeah. So, I'll come and visit you if it's possible, but I understand you're not going to cross the barrier. So,
It's bad territory in there.
I understand.
I'll be watching you, Hunter Wagner.
Okay. Very well. I'll try to watch you when I can see you.
Not so simple just to worship the cats for your own convenience.
I understand.
He seems to jet off very quickly and then disappears.
Yep.
So the cat that was sitting
You
still
got the true Puss in Boots right there. You got the Antonio Banderas cat.
Exactly.
Should ask him where he went to law school.
Can I put you on retainer?
All right.
I've got some contracts I got to write with the demons.
So we're coming into the next week. You said your last day you wanted to try to work on the gravity devices again?
Gravity hammer.
Gravity hammer? I think you machine chopped out some parts at the end. I can't remember if we...
I'd put the gravity component to pull it in and the zero-G field. So it effectively is a gravity hammer, but I didn't do anything with the lightning bolt end or... Yeah, pretty much just the lightning bolt end.
Okay. So what did you want to accomplish with that then?
So the little tip of it, you know?
Yep.
SG-1 style. What was that? The little...
Yep. Well, you'd already machine chopped out something that most likely has a sigil on it. It can act as a focus. Do you want something that is permanently enchanted to do that, or?
Yeah, like...
The
initial idea was the bottom has a little canister that the quintessence fits in. You put the quintessence in, it burns that quintessence to shoot a lightning bolt.
Okay.
What was that?
Or burns half that quintessence would be better. Get a 2-shot.
Rate of fire 1, I'm assuming?
That's what I put
That's what you want to use?
so close in.
Just tap it, shoot.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I didn't push any buttons.
You can give me a thumb tech or a thaumatology.
Which is better?
Either is good.
Thaumatology straight up.
Okay. You've got some ideas. Nothing as of yet how you want to set that up.
Someone to the store looking for chickpeas.
For what?
Chickpeas?
Can I spend the second half of the day then,
you guys they're called garbanzos.
researching how the heck these little clay animation things are working?
Most of your day is working on that.
Okay.
You've got ideas in place, just
didn't know
nothing
they were called garbanzos
solid in
either.
your mind. All right. Later near the end of the week, we're heading into the next week here.
So we've done 3 weeks, right?
No, 2.
Well, we've done 2, but there was a week that occurred after the battle. That's what.
A week has occurred after the fight in the Chantry when you guys went for law now. There was some downtime prior to that. I can't remember how much specifically.
It was Chantry, and then there was a week of we were kind of recovering. B did a few things, and then the transatlantic gate, and that's where we started.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
No, then I lost a week somewhere.
Yeah, that's okay.
I think I said some things that were going to happen. I think the transatlantic thing technically happened this week.
Okay.
I was just going to tell you some things that were...
Some other things that are happening?
Yep.
All right.
This happens near the end of the first week. Ultimately, you hear Angus Urquhart downstairs. What is it? I would say when you're kind of visiting, or at least he would probably come to visit you in the Chantry. Not the Chantry, but the...
when we get our
the library, the temple, essentially. However, I mean, you end up hearing the voice, but the image you see when you turn around is this man here. He seems to kind of somewhat cautiously approach you. So how's it going, Hunter?
It's going pretty good, Angus. Looks like that primordial's working out for you pretty good.
He says he's still a little bit sketchy, but he can't deny that he feels pretty good. He hasn't felt this way since the first war.
Okay.
Or at least he probably was on the decline for the first war.
So how far back does the dial turn?
He says he hopes it stops soon.
I would hope so.
It's going to be a bit awkward telling his son to do things. Looks like he's the same age as him.
I'll do a lot of things for you. I'm not sure I'll change your diaper.
Yeah. From what I understand, it'll take me back to a prime. I'm still iffy about the whole situation, but I can't deny that it's been helping me throughout our endeavors in the war. I mean, I don't bounce back nearly as much as my son does. I mean, he'll have a leg damn near torn off, and he'll end up coming back from it just a few days later. However, I've been able to regenerate fairly quickly. I've been developing a lot of new spells, some other things of that nature. MI5's been working on the weapons technology. We actually have some weapons in play here that are actually causing quite a bit of devastation today, the deep ones.
Okay.
So how things have been going with you?
They've been going well. We've been fighting the fight.
Get fuzzy as we're going.
Mostly tied up with what's going on over in China and India and stuff, but
he understands that, but Scotland's his home, so that takes somewhat precedent.
Well,
not only that, but this is where his family lives.
Yep. Trying to work with your wife now to get that little problem in New York taken care of. So,
well, I wish you the best of luck. I would recommend that you're with one of my kids when you talk to her. She's a tendency to say things, and she's not wrong, but he says that she has a tendency to say things in a way that is pleasant to the ear, but might be inclined to make you biased.
Okay.
He says that she has a gift of blarney about her.
Okay. I'll ask, do you have any concerns of conversations we're having here, of ears that'll hear? Or?
He says, from what he understands, I mean, the towns worship her as a priestess. They're not fully aware that she is actually up on the higher end of this hierarchy, and he is not in a position to say anything as of right now, because this place is, even though there's a hint of evilness to it, he'll just straight up say, this place has been relatively stable since the war has come out and people otherwhere have disappeared, and this is something that he needs to address in the future, but he needs to make sure that there is a future for Scotland. So.
Right. So part of the deal with Mormo is that there's certain things that she wanted to take to increase her power to fight the...
From what he understands of it...
Red Star or whatever it is? The Nemesis Star?
He's not too aware of the Nemesis Star. You'll have to excuse him. He mostly has been learning a lot about Deep One culture, society, etiquette, if you will.
Okay.
He is vaguely aware that he had been mentioned that there's something coming, but he says, as long as there isn't something on the horizon that's coming, especially in the last few years here.
So what is his feeling as far as if that additional power gets turned over to her? Does he have any concerns?
He says that he's been concerned ever since day one, ever since that, ever since the issue with Taomi, she's been reverting to her old self, which she started to change when he first met her, so he's not sure what the old her was really like. He is a little bit worried. He says that if she told you that Mormo's resources could help her stop the Nemesis Star, he doesn't think that you would lie about something like that, but he doesn't feel that she would just offer up something like that.
I don't think that she's lying about it. I think she's being truthful about it, but I'm wondering about what other things are being not said. Like what else
he says that that's
purposes.
that's what he's getting at, is there has to be some other reason. It's unlikely that she would just out of the kindness of her heart offer this, and maybe there's significant resources. Maybe she's increasing her demonic army. Maybe there's some sort of artifact. He's not clear what specifically. Frankly, his understanding of demons is relatively low.
Mm-hmm. He just married one.
He didn't have a choice.
Yeah. he thought of it as the best possible option at the time.
All right.
Otherwise, he'll tell you there's a few things that he wants to teach you, and the professor. Okay. He understands the professor's not here, but he's been developing a few new spells since the time period. He's had a lot of energy. He hasn't been sleeping as much lately. He doesn't know if that's because of the renewed vigor and going back to a youthful state, or is it something to do with this entity that's inside of him.
Yeah.
He says it doesn't really have a common... He said that he just can kind of feel it in there. It doesn't really have a consciousness from what he understands, but the whole thing damn creeps him out. But
yeah. What is this now? I tell him that I've got a high level of paradox right now, so theoretically I'd love to hear the spells. I obviously won't be practicing them.
He understands. He actually has found a way of prematurely detonating that paradox.
Okay.
But he says if you're built up a lot, then he doesn't actually recommend that. You might want it to bleed off a little bit before you end up doing something like that. But there's a way of shaking the small amount of nitroglycerin and causing it to go off, and then it's more controlled in that manner.
Okay. I'd like to learn that too. And I'll just blow my foot off every once in a while.
He says luckily you have resources to get that foot back. Not everyone has the pleasure.
Yep.
He'll also tell you that one of the abilities that he's seen a lot of help with, at least in the fight against Blue Hades, is he's developed kind of a Gaelic chant. It's more of a whisper or a whistle, he'll say. He just dubbed it Arcane Whistle. He'll think of something more prolific in the future, but he's not a poet. However, he has an ability. What is it? He believes that he is actively able to make things around him not necessarily cloak his presence, just more likely just to not notice him whatsoever. It doesn't make him invisible or anything. It's just people seem to not really either take note of him being there.
Okay.
Puts him in the peripheral.
He's used it to affect against some of the hybrid sorcerers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He says they're pretty easy to fool. They're not the greatest. He says that we're probably more powerful than a lot of the hybrid sorcerers. There's so damn many of them.
Right.
Not only that, but especially since the deep ones are letting people out, as in you could become part of the deep one breeding program, and you're not going to be killed in the ensuing genocide.
Okay.
So unfortunately, with every death, their ranks kind of swell so much. He's come across a lot of gray lilies as well.
Okay.
Just the sheer number of them have been pretty bad. Otherwise, he's occasionally seen, he thinks that the ability has worked on purebloods, but he hasn't really gotten too close without actively engaging them.
Right. Okay. And he said he had other spells, or those are the two things he's got?
The ones he's developed, he said he'll come up with more snazzy names in the future, and he'll write up some material for the chantry to use in the future.
And then also I ask him about the...
He'll tell you he has figured out a few ones. Beacon of Geron, Bullet Storm, Sighted, Backlash Curse.
Slow down.
What's a Bullet Storm?
You're not there.
Bullet Storm. What was it? G.U.R.P.S something?
Beacon of Geron.
Got that. And then Bullet Storm, and then what was the third one?
Backlash Curse. Burns Runor. Crystallized Prime.
Ooh, that sounds horrible.
Dance of the Folk. Primal Sync. Gate. And he will kind of taper off there at the end, and he says some others.
Okay. You don't wish to discuss them at the moment? Or?
He says they're a little bit, what he'll say is prototype at the moment, and he doesn't want to, until he's fully gotten a hand of it,
Right.
He doesn't want to teach something like that. He says it's very destructive.
Okay. Okay.
He says he'd want to prime you and the professor with a lot more charms and disjunction type spells, so you'd be able to shield yourself in case any kind of backlash occurs from that.
From the undefined spell?
Yeah.
Okay.
He has used it once, and it was, he said it upset him a little bit, but it was effective.
Okay. Can you tell me the effect or what it did?
He said that he has another spell called Unraveling. It's a Gaelic chant. Literally...
so you unmake things?
He says that its pattern is still there, but you build up a type of paradox in the person until they start to break apart. And he says that he's found a way using gate to create a type of unraveling wind.
Okay.
And he took out, he wants to say, probably about 2 to 3 acres worth of kind of thin bloods with it. However, it was very hard to control, and he would never use it in an area where other people were, because he doesn't know if he can control the exact perimeter. He can protect himself from entropic and curses and things of that nature, but
so
he says
we're up by 4.
He says it's an unmaking wind.
Okay.
A sourness in the wind, but he says he's not quite figured it out all yet. So.
Oh, sounds interesting.
However, he had created, he'll show you the gloves, and he has created kind of a star rune. He says that it's part of a gate. He says it's a mundane gate, but he had managed to use sense stealing, and he put up another gate sigil on a large stone platform.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that in certain circumstances, he can open up the 2 keyed gates, and a gate allows continuous movement between the 2. It's more like an open portal, like kind of what Viper had used. And he'll ask you to take a guess based on his runes, which you can give me a perception symbol. What was it?
Symbol drawing?
Symbol drawing.
So 7. So by 8.
Okay. He seems to have there's a significance that he's marked the gate as kind of a star well, but you're not sure where it's keyed specifically. He'll show you a demonstration of it, and he's able to open a miniature gate in front of his hand using the symbol, and you'll see a nearby tree kind of instantly burn a hole through, and then the nearby temperature kind of raises up, and then he immediately stops pretty quickly, kind of shakes his hand.
Okay.
He says he was able to put he's not sure where specifically, but very close to the sun. And if he's able to open up the gate on the right side, he can allow a solar radiation to come in through a gate into atmosphere. He says he knows it's risky. He's a little bit more overconfident. He thinks that it might be because of this damn primal inside of him, but then again, he was kind of like this as a kid, so he doesn't know. He's a little bit gay.
The worship happening destroys the universe. Or the world.
The world sets the atmosphere aflame.
So
he said, of course, it's very dangerous, and he would like to prep something like that, but he's just making you aware of the possibilities of gates.
Look at this! It's like Pink Floyd Late Night Show.
He's done the same thing in an active volcano using some old stone that doesn't blow up, and then a water. So he's able to create gates to locations with a plethora of material that he might want in the future.
Okay. Okay. Very cool.
Pretty interesting.
Very cool. Yep. There's also some technologies you want to forward on to B.
He'll kind of go through his backpack. You can give me a perception hypertech. You might not have it. There seems to be some sort of strange, slick rod. It's connected to some sort of large base. It's like some little tiny altar, but it's on a tripod. And he says we've been finding these across London, in some of the thicker areas near the shores as well. It's obviously not Blue Hades. I don't know what it is. MI5 thinks it's some sort of strange hyper technology. I was wondering if B came across something like this before.
What does it look like again? I don't have it.
You're not
Basically,
there.
I dial up the phone.
Yep.
Ring, ring, ring. I tell you. B, it's I describe it to her. I got an eye for distance, so I kind of try to measure it up. This, that.
Are they finding them in clumps or not?
He says they found them roughly, depending on the population density, it seems to be keyed somewhat to that, and they're in certain increments. He says like they're distanced equally apart depending on how dense the populace is.
What is it made out of? Can you look at it with a fine eye or anything like that?
He'll tell you from what he understands it's some sort of strange material that doesn't react well to magic. He says it's slick. You can give me a perception hypertech.
Have you ever seen him do anything or interact with?
He says no. They've been coming across them. They don't.
Around inert.
They've been laying around. He says they're usually in very remote locations. They've come across a few, but they think that there might be a lot more around Great Britain.
And so far, they've just been in
nothing. He says,
have you tried to cut open one of the solid pieces or break them or anything?
That's what MI5's been doing, and that's why they did think that it's some sort of hypertech. Oh, yeah. I wanted to bring a complete one to Beatrice.
Okay.
I did it by 9.
By 9? You're not sure. There's a few technologies that could be like that, but without seeing...
I give them my few technologies. It could be this, it could be that, it could be this, and it could be something off my list.
He'll ask you if he can actually bring it in.
Yeah.
He's got a transport scuttle. Oh, is it shuttled from... what the hell is it? From here to France, and then he's planning on taking the Chantry from there to Massachusetts.
They still use the Chantry?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Can't you just run it across the transatlantic?
He said he's okayed this primordial thing with not Walter Riker, but
the Chantry.
With Michael Larson, and so far it's all right. Apparently, it's more of a neutral entity. They do monitor me more while I'm interior, but I imagine it's nothing like being part of Demon.
Okay. Yeah, bring it in. I'll put it on the top of my list.
Otherwise, he'll offer you that he's going to be heading to France via high-altitude balloon. He says MI5's making these balloons now that actually travel over the weather, so they're no longer affected by these freak storms.
Oh, very cool.
I tell him I want to meet him outside the lab environment in case it's a Trojan horse.
All right. He's willing to negotiate. Where do you want to go with that?
A couple miles outside the lab.
Okay.
Your newly purchased land?
Sure. My newly purchased land.
Otherwise,
he on his border.
Love to touch base with the professor as well, and he says that if ever you figure out these other things, he's willing to help out on this Mormo incident because he understands. I mean, his wife's going to be involved, and this could directly affect things here, especially if the 42nd Infantry could free up resources to be sending out this way. That would be nice.
Yep. I'll keep him in the loop. Tell him I'm going to spend some more time here until I can travel a little more freely. So.
Otherwise, he's got about a week, and then he's going to be heading back into the field with his son.
Okay.
Otherwise, he says feel free to take whatever room you need at the manor. The kids should be there for the most part, and he says that whatever food you need. He says whatever people are willing to. For the most part, he knows most of these people. He says the thing that weirds him out, though, is the Urquhart clan, his family clan, has always been known and associated with like dark things, demons, and yada yada yada. Even though there's more noble pursuits, he just kind of always saw us as weird. He says everyone's being too damn nice to me now. It's just there's too much bad blood.
It's okay. It's a little weird. I understand. I'm higher up on the list, and so things get done for me.
Yeah, they've been treating me really well too. And
I try to pay for things.
A lot of these people, he'll say that some of the older people used to spit like in my general direction because they thought it was some sort of dark wizard from the woods, which in fairness he understands a little bit of where they're coming from with it.
I think they've been drinking Kool-Aid at the end.
He says now they offer me whatever I want, and
Yep.
He's happy to know that there's a place where his children are safe and he can continue to go out and help Great Britain.
Yep.
Otherwise, he says, great talking to you. He wishes the best of luck regarding your current endeavors, and he tells you to get into contact with them. Be careful of traffic. The deep ones have been kind of following back people that have been teleporting. That's why he's trying to get to France before. He says, if you're careful about it, you can make it from here to there. It's just you don't want to cross the border and inadvertently run into Border Patrol.
Yep. Makes sense.
Otherwise, he'll leave you at that.
All right.
What do you guys want? Was it?
I will pass to you, so you can pass the professor that Angus will be coming to, America basically, and try to put him in contact. So
I will. I'll
try to help that communication.
Okay.
Basically, the professors should be on with us. When we talk, they can hear everything. You there, Professor?
Yep.
I put this damn ring in the sink, and I ran the water over it.
Exactly.
That wouldn't actually do anything.
I know.
It's not electric.
Make extra noise.
So Travis can have his week. He's been waiting patiently.
All right. Well, we're into the next week, unless the PCs wanted to do anything.
It is 10:30.
Oh, yeah, we started fairly late.
I'm willing to go to 11. That's what we've been doing lately.
Okay.
I'm willing.
All right.
If you need to leave a little bit early, we can do your downtime at the start of next game.
I'm just going to work on Gravity Hammer / try and figure out how to make like a little clay dude.
Little clay dude? Okay. You can give me a priority as on the Gravity Hammer, or...
Well, I feel like the Gravity Hammer shouldn't take that long because it's like done. It needs one sigil enchanted.
But that's what you're working on first.
Sure.
Okay. You can give me, you had your research from before. You can give me I would say, a Thaumatech or a Thaumatology.
By 1?
By 1. You end up eating another day up, but you think that you have a general idea of how to do this. Yeah. At least you're willing to try it. For the initial enchantment, you're thinking around maybe 6 quintessence, but it depends. As you start going, it might change.
Tesla is $71,000.
I'll do it.
What do you get?
No, I was looking at the Tesla Model S. It's $71,000.
So, do you want rolls?
Just for it to catch on fire.
Yep. You can give me a, what is it, for the next day, you can start by setting up the lightning effect.
Oh.
What movie was I watching?
You don't need to burn any quintessence for this. It's just for the...
Lightning bolt by 1?
Step on something.
It's a decent enchantment. You might want to do something a little bit better for your...
Can I do more?
Yep, you can. This isn't a time-limiting factor for this first step, so it's usually something you want to do fairly good.
So, by 5?
5? You think it's pretty good. You can start with Weave Prime at this point.
Yep.
This could be accomplished with Primal Combo, because Weave Prime is the preferred method.
I have it, so I'll use it. Even though it's...
It's a giant golf cart.
So straight up?
With leather.
Like straight up?
It's an 11, so it's not going to get...
You can give me another roll for another day. It's starting to come along.
Like there's a giant LCD screen.
Weave Prime is power-based, right? Not.
It is power-based.
Okay. And straight up.
Straight up. It's coming along.
And there's a by 2.
By 2? Okay. So here far you've burned about 4 quintessence. It's coming along. It might be another 2 to 3.
By 4.
By 4? You're starting to come over the unfamiliarity. The first time you make a new type of enchantment, you haven't really done it before, so you don't have much to base it on. I would say you could finish this by, what is it, the 4th day, I think? So far, it burns about a half a quintessence for a 3d6 lightning. It's not as strong as yours, but it uses less quintessence, and you don't need to, the individual using it doesn't necessarily need to know anything about lightning, but they could easily use it as an amplifier for their effect.
Okay, and
the container itself, it could be a small module at the bottom.
Yep, just have a little screw in with a wax block type thing.
Otherwise, you can give me a research.
Research by 9?
By 9? You end up talking with Gabriel Bruce. He's the one who created a lot of these small creatures that are kind of assisting. For the most part, most of them aren't smarter than a dog. They're actually somewhat dumb, other than I'll kind
of explain to him. In combat, I'd like to have something that can run in there with, if we have a bomb or with like some sort of melee weapon, just run in there and be able to, kind of control it from the background without being at risk.
So are you trying to create some sort of animated puppet or something that's completely independent of your person? He said these things are relatively independent once I
prefer independent, where I can be like, I task you to do this.
He tells you that most materials, dirt, water, the elements, even wood and glass, have intrinsic spirits. He's able to compel those spirits into spirit shells. He says some of them can be a little bit dense, so he worries about, depending on what type of spirit you imbibe into one of these spirit shells, about carrying a bomb or doing your taxes.
It's a minion. They can do anything.
Yep. But he says, depending on the type of spirit, generally simple spirits are very controllable. So 2 spells that he is aware of, Spirit Shell and Conspel Spirit, are primarily how he has accomplished these simple things. Something that has finite motor control and can use a weapon might require a more complex spirit and might be more, I suppose, independent of you, meaning it'd be harder to control them. These simple ones are simple air and dirt spirits, and they don't really have any kind of conscious themselves. So he can tell them really whatever to do.
So if I were to make like an air dirt spirit, I could have it wielding a melee weapon, but I'd have to kind of be like sending it signals on what to do.
It would have no prior concept of wielding a weapon, so with training it could learn how to do something like that, but he says that it'd never be a weapon master.
Is there a way that I could like keep using the same spirit, where like I carry some of the dirt with me? Or
Yep, you just have to recover anything. You'd have to recover the spirit from the original spirit shell when it broke. It's unlikely that the spirit would be destroyed unless it was some sort of primal blast or a spirit weapon that ended up hurting the creature. So but it could be recoverable.
Is there a way that I could like keep it around, like say a cat?
He says absolutely. He'll tell you that he actually has a living sigil on himself. That's a somewhat powerful spirit that he's known for a long period of time, and it's quite a bit more independent than any of these simple creations.
Shit, another spirit.
It's a form of crawling sigil, spirit shell that he uses.
Is electricity a simple thing?
Dust, do you remember the coin?
He says they define part of their personality. Personality
brass button.
Components from whatever element they were pulled through, just elemental spirits. Electrical spirits might be a little bit more chaotic and impulsive, but
what about fire?
What happened to him?
He says similar.
Professor.
They'd be probably they would still be a bit chaotic. They might be a little bit more bold.
I think she put it in her dream catcher.
Fairly calm, might be sluggish.
Or his bed.
Water?
Similar, very calm, somewhat mobile.
So, what's the happy medium?
He says he works fine with clay creatures, and even he says clay creatures are probably the easiest to deal with. They're fairly rugged. He can make the spirit
molten
sigil.
lava. It's not quite fire.
He said you'd need some way of the spirit shell not solidifying into a solid obsidian mass.
So like temperature control?
Yeah. He says once he's made the spirit shell here, it's just simple rocks and enchantments holding it together. But if it was fire or something like that, I mean, you would need a fuel source. Otherwise, the spirit shell would break down.
Can he teach me these 2 spells to be able to make like a rock golem type thing?
He says that if you help him assist on the alchemical systems that he's working on, he can find some time to teach you these.
I'll say sure.
He'll tell you, however, what is it? You'll probably want to learn spirit sight to begin with, just because then you'll be able to actually identify spirits and see them.
I'd be like, that's my spirit.
Yep.
Okay.
Rather than just working blind.
Is that an advantage or a skill?
It's a spell. It's a type of crawling sigil.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'll find out, I would probably say after that first week, you have 35 units up and running. Varus would talk to you after that point in time. He says that there has been a noticeable change in the underlying weave here. It's stable thus far. He says that it's, I suppose, becoming slightly more prone to nearby spirits coming to this region. So he thinks he can dial it up probably to about 40 of these facilities running at one point in time without running into issues. After that, you're either going to want some sort of spirit wards, or he says something akin to the the cross-bridge buttresses in the region, just to hold back anything. He says there's nothing malevolent. It's just he says if you put up the electrical grid, the insects are going to come.
All right, let's get some cross-bridge particle generators set, and I'll contact my magic friends to see if they want to help me out with some spirit wards.
He can work on some of the spirit wards. He can take the resources that he needs here. He says that he has a bit of understanding of hypertech, but he'd probably prefer one of your assistants. He can tell him where in certain areas. From that, he'll start to monitor the situation. He'll know how it is within.
Let's not scale up anymore. Let's stop at 40.
Okay.
I'm happy with that.
All right. He'll say that, coming into the next weeks, you'll start to see progress, and you'll ultimately be getting about 32 per week after the resources, and you are burning materials to keep these operational. So when you're talking about manpower and other things of that nature,
there's also materials.
There's money that's being spent to create this 32.
We're turning money into quintessence, and that is fine as long as it's not outrageous.
Theoretically,
we can sell them.
Theoretically, you can sell off some of the vital essence and recoup your cost.
Right.
If that, he'll give you a ballpark that you're probably going to be making around 28 to 30 per week, which is still pretty good.
Yep. I'm fine. Yep.
Plus the promises you made to other people.
I'll distribute them.
She's mentioned donating to, what the hell is it?
The war effort.
Michael Larson, the war effort.
Yep.
But, I mean, if you talked to him and said you were using it for other purposes, it doesn't seem like you would mind.
Yep, I owe people.
It's not like you had up posters and you're like, vote Beatrice. More quintessence, more power.
Huh.
Like, I'm not going
to
deliver on any of these campaign promises.
Well, you have to pay the apprentice.
Really? You see, there's a guard at the gate. Who are you again? No, you're not on the list.
Your funds, was it that 32 is already counting all the people that you'd need to fund in quintessence.
All right.
So you'd have 40 facilities up and running. 8 of that would be going to people.
Okay.
Walter Wright, is it
to my people, not you guys?
Because I was promised 6 a week. I
hear you. Once they get going, you'll get 6.
There's a few people that are taking 1. There's a couple people that are taking 3. So what is it? The 4 people, and they're taking about 8. So far, Gabriel Bruce has been working relatively free, and he's been using the resources here, but he has been a big effort. But he does seem unusually I wouldn't say horribly antisocial. It's just he does seem to spend a lot of time by himself with constructs and things of that nature. So you're not sure if, I suppose you can give me psychology.
I like it, psychology.
Can I do a psychology since I'm working with him now?
You've started working with him now.
Okay.
So coming into the next week, definitely. B has been working with him for the last couple of weeks.
Years.
Psychology. Well, he has been doing a lot of the healing as of late for significant damage.
Did it by 8.
By 8. You would say that he obviously is he's a bit of a workaholic like yourself, but he also is a little bit, what the hell have you? I don't want to say, not a loner, but he's a little bit secretive. And I suppose part of it is he doesn't necessarily feel comfortable around kind of like wholesome people, like the people at your labs. It does seem as though he feels slightly disconnected from the kind of the environment that you have running here. He's definitely not been in kind of a positive environment like this. And you're not sure kind of what kind of dealings he had back when he was in the cult.
Right.
But he seems to be very
white lace environment. He likes playing with shades of gray.
It seems as though he gets along fairly well. It's just imagine like somebody working in an internment camp for several years and then coming back and you're like, hey, what's going on? You want to go to the theme park picnic? And he's like, oh, okay.
All right.
Otherwise, he seems to be an immense help while he's staying here. Some of his facility members from the Blue Clinic have come and kind of taken residency here. Talking to them, they would say a lot of the same. He has been a bit shaky ever since his son had died, and he says that's when he kind of went into a long kind of research period. Apparently, his wife several years back had died of some sort of degenerative disease where the lining between cells broke down and they literally came apart. And his son ultimately developed that around age 8 several years back. And what the hell is it? That's apparently he had gone into research and had disappeared. He was in the Congo for some time. There was with Psychology 8 and talk to some of the people here, there was rumors about his son, like, not have died, but then later on, like, apparently he had died several years back, and then so there's some
Frankenstein's monsters coming to
gray area things that you hear about.
Cemetery. That cemetery.
Otherwise, he's an immense help while he's here.
All right.
And for the most part, there was a mild acclimation to some of these clay creatures, but now a lot of your staff members find them just adorable. They look like, oh, give him a coffee cup. Let's see if he makes it to the other room. But oh, I spilled it. Oh, it's adorable.
It's so good.
All right, so anyone else for their week?
I think we're all done with our...
Well, Trevor started into his second week with the gravity, and then
I'm going to start
the gravity hammer's finished. You think you should be able to produce these quicker?
Who else did I promise quintessence to? You?
You promised one to Chris, but that's kind of moot.
That's fine.
I'm gonna still work on
You didn't
Unlife.
promise me. I figured I'd just.
I'm gonna still work on Unlife and use symbol drawing.
Okay. You can give me a research.
Straight up.
Okay. I would say that you could put a point into both of them if you wanted to over the course of the next week.
Okay.
Unlife, the thing is sometimes you know you've done it wrong, except it'll still trigger. It still goes off, and sometimes you can't quite tell what happened, but the symbol has an unusual ability to reanimate things that shouldn't be able to come back.
Okay.
I mean, you're looking at like dead heat type shit, like sandwiches coming back and leather. You've occasionally seen a book twitch. It's
I have to
depending on your
I have to learn it in order
inclinations.
to destroy it.
It is a disturbing spell.
Yeah. So I have to learn it in order to destroy it.
Yeah, if you think that would be directly applicable. The first time you were relatively in the area of effect, if it was going to disintegrate you, it would have took you, but it only seems to attack those reanimated things.
So good thing is, disintegration and Unlife are getting really close together, casting cost-wise, so about one more week should get them about equal. Could I put, during my research, can I put 2 points into research?
That'll put you up to the next level. I would lower you.
Yeah, so that would put me from 2 to 4. That's what I'm trying to say.
You'd also learn that Scarlet has learned quite a bit more spirit spells. She's even able to, not tap your ability to shallow walk. She's also found a means of meditating, allowing her to speed up her own thought patterns. Mm-hmm. However, she thinks that she needs to teach you several other mental abilities prior to that happening.
Okay. What do you mean by speed up her thought?
She says that she's able to enter a Zen state with her other training, and she can see water droplets fall. She's able to react, and she's been able to swat down flies pretty much immediately. She says she's not able to physically move any faster, but it seems like everything else relative to her is slowed down.
I want to see the fight between Scarlet and Yoda Cap.
It's 2 different types of theories right there. One teleports, the other one just slows things down. But she needs to teach me something else before she gets to Zen state.
She would need to teach you some of the... let me look those up, y'all. Updated catalyst. Alright. Some of the things like the spells like the voice, sleep, hypnotism, sense enlightened.
Just careful.
All right.
From one's actually a very hard one.
Yes.
Lying gesture. She says you've actually got a little bit with mind barrier and guardian of the mind. She thinks if he teaches you 1 or 2 more spells, you might be able to pick up probably 2 or 3 more spells for Zen state.
So sense enlightened. Mm-hmm. What was another one?
So crystallized thought. She has doubting gaze, emotional gaze, dismissive gesture, sense enlightened, mind barrier. She's developed a way to assault people's minds called mind assault.
Not all those are on here, buddy.
Note to self, only piss off pudding, not Scarlet.
Are you sure to go to Scarlet's list? She's at the top. Is that on
Scarlet's, yeah. It's on this one.
At least it says mind assault right there.
Yeah, mind assault.
Zen state. Line gesture, Zen state.
But I'm looking for crystalline.
Scroll down, buddy. Next page, buddy. Oh, they disappeared. Download the program and don't view it through Google Docs. That's the issue. They're on there. They're under
user error.
Download current version.
Territorial Dominion. Yeah, I have a bunch of under Territorial Dominion.
All right. Like you're like, hey, I got a bunch of them on here, and I was looking, I'm like, this is the same.
Download the thing.
They're the same fucking ones.
And then like share memory, lucid dreaming, those type of spells.
Okay.
She says she has a couple higher level ones that she's been working on. She thinks she can create an area in which people have to obey you in certain parameters, but she's still working on that. Zen state she thinks is most applicable to your current situation. Along with various other things like the voice and sleeping and hypnotism. Mind assault, maybe as well.
Mind assault.
Oh, she'd also say make believe.
Make believe.
Yep.
Okay.
Otherwise, that's what you ultimately end up spending a lot of time on. You can look at those new spells that she has. I'm starting to write some of the other MISC ones that you have access to in the Cat City, other than Semyata. You of course have the same ones. You have the potential of working with Puddin, who knows a lot of force effects and other direct damage type things. So we did that. So we got you two left for this new week.
It's already 11. So.
Okay, so we can wrap up. We'll have your guys' next 2 character points for this particular session.
So what's our total up to?
518.
Damn it.
And I can put the one in spirit sight.
Not yet. Most of your time was developing that because you started talking to
Remind me next week to put 2 points.
Dr. Bruce at the end of the week, and that's when he started to do the research and he showed you roughly how those things were made. But yeah. All right, I will stop the recording there.
Thanks for running.